What's up? This is E.J. Stewart.
What if I drop 40 days, 40 nights?
One, you can't do it.
All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm going to keep it 100 with you.
Every morning, every night, for 40 days.
Going to be a long 40 days this year.
My skill shot will hold for your city for 40 days, 40 nights.
Rest in peace to all my ops.
For 40 days. If I can do that, then everything will be okay.
You're the guy who can't finish a sandwich. You think you can go 40 days? This isn't normal!
Oh, you're wrong, brother. I'm gonna go the distance.
Let's go!
Let's go is right. What's up? This is E.J. Stewart. You're watching 40 Days, 40 Nights. We're up to night 27 with your boy as we do 2 live stream show per day. One in the afternoon, or one in the morning rather, one in the early evening. Not in the afternoon. One in the morning, one in the evening, 8 a.m., 6 p.m., every weekday, Monday through Friday. We are doing this for 40 days, and we are coming down to the wire. We're on night 27. We got plenty to get to in the show. I'm really excited about the top of the show because I really want to get into these comments made by Mark Cuban. Well, they're not comments, they're more tweets. So Mark Cuban, the former owner of the Dallas Mavericks, who may be trying to become an owner again. I don't know if these comments are actually going to help, but apparently there's rumors that he wants to be an owner again. But he actually made some interesting comments about the future of the NBA in regards to how they approach tanking. And he brought a perspective that we, quite frankly, have not seen from many people around the NBA. We've heard a lot more talk about getting rid of the NBA draft, which I've heard a lot more about. And I might get into more of that as well when we talk about this today. But Mark Cuban actually brought to light something that I got to give my brother Kendall Stewart credit for, because he mentioned it last week, that maybe fans actually don't care that much about tanking, and that fans actually embrace tanking. It's an interesting thought, considering so much of the hullabaloo has been about how bad tanking is for the sport and how bad tanking is for the NBA. Are we missing the forest through the trees? Is tanking not as bad as we think it is? We'll have Mark Cuban to discuss that down on the show, but we'll, of course, discuss his tweets. I think that's a fascinating take on it. Also, Jeannie Buss spoke to CNBC. She did an interview talking about her business with the Lakers now that she has sold the team, but is still running the team. Some comments about Luka Doncic and the excitement about moving forward with the future with him as the face of the Lakers, making an interesting comparison to a Laker great. And the future of LeBron James, where she casts doubt about what LeBron's future is beyond this season. So we'll get to that. We got to settle some old beef between James Harrison, Ben Roethlisberger, and Joey Porter. Joey Porter, of course, kind of dropped the mic during Super Bowl week when he just destroyed James Harrison, and definitely Ben Roethlisberger with his comments defending Mike Tomlin, feeling like it was foul for them to disrespect Mike Tomlin and say that Mike Tomlin should be fired or should be out of a job at Pittsburgh. Now he resigned on his own volition. And Joey Porter targeted both Harrison and Ben Roethlisberger as guys that had no business talking about Mike Tomlin's future as Steelers head coach, and particularly Ben because of him being a, quote, bad teammate and bad person. James Harrison defends Big Ben and himself in these comments, and I'm excited to talk about that. We got a major scandal with Major League Baseball. One that I had to read multiple times to understand what I was seeing. But Tony Clark, who's the executive director, or now formerly executive director of the MLB Players Association, he is no longer holding that role. He is resigning, which in a vacuum is not the most shocking thing, only because there had been this federal investigation into improprieties regarding how they were, handling profits and money by the feds. So the fact that change could have been coming to that union wasn't the biggest surprise, considering I kind of forgot that was happening, but I was reminded today that was happening. So it's okay. Maybe there was some corruption going on. Maybe the block is too hot. He got to move on. That's not quite why Tony Clark is resigning. Well, we're learning that he may have had allegedly an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law. Yikes. Yes, so we'll get into that story a little bit later. Also, there's a quarterback that is expected to demand a trade this offseason, and I actually think that it's a mistake. I actually think that they should stay in the team that they're at, and I'll explain why. And I've said it before, we got to band together and not let Tiger Woods do this again. Everyone, I know he's an American tragedy and an American like kind of hero in a weird way. He kind of encompasses both still, even today. He's heroic for like what he did for golf and the breaking the color barriers that he did, and tragic given just kind of like how his life and career had kind of went towards the end, right? So Tiger, not ruling out a return. He was at the Genesis Invitational, where he's the host right now of that event, and he was talking about his return to golf, and it doesn't sound like this is something he's willing to put away yet. He could be coming back way sooner than you think. And to which I say, when are we going to come together, put a hand on Tiger's shoulder and say, buddy, it's over. If we don't do it, he's going to keep putting himself in harm's way and putting himself in danger. And I don't want to see that anymore. So we'll talk about Tiger later in the show. So we got a lot to get to, man. 40 days, 40 nights. I'm excited about this one. Night 27 coming at you. Of course, you're streaming live, multiple spots. Streaming live on YouTube, New Generation Media. Shout out to the folks watching us on YouTube. Also streaming live on X. Shout out to the folks watching me on X, EJ_Stewart. Also streaming live on Instagram Live, Action EJ. So streaming live, multiple spots. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, New Generation Media. Make sure you follow me on X, EJ_Stewart. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, Action EJ, to get the ball rolling here on 40 days and 40 nights. Again, this is going to be a really fun, really good show we got for you. So let's start with this Mark Cuban conversation, because I find this extremely fascinating. So Mark Cuban, who of course owned an NBA team, Dallas Mavericks, for many years. Again, there's rumors that he may be trying to own one yet again. Just gonna adjust this lower third real quick, make it a little cleaner. There's rumors that he may want to own one again, that he may be trying to get an investment team together to buy back the team from the Dumont family, who I haven't seen any indication they don't want to keep doing this, but they've definitely been under heat after trading Luka Doncic. Now they lucked out in a big way with being able to win the draft lottery and get Cooper Flagg, which makes this whole conversation very ironic, right? Because Mark Cuban, of course, was the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and somehow is still involved. I don't know if he's not calling the shots or anything, but he still sits courtside these games. He's still a Dallas Maverick figure. But he had some very interesting comments about just what is really the idea behind tanking, and how do fans actually feel about it? Because I think Cuban presents something that is perhaps not being discussed enough. Is, do the fans actually hate this? Like, are we yelling? Are these talking heads? Are these helicoptering in people? Are these people who actually don't watch the NBA? And are these folks who don't actually represent the majority, or are these a loud minority that are talking about how much the NBA is a joke is for tanking? And he makes what I think is a pretty compelling case that tanking is not nearly as big a deal as people are saying. So I want you guys to read his tweets. So bear with me, because I gotta adjust this a little bit. I want you to read them for yourself. I don't want to show up and just show everything. That's of course my thing. We don't want that. Let's get Safari real quick. There you go. So there. So I want you guys to read this, because I find this very interesting. So this is Mark Cuban, and he was asked. Oh, he wasn't asked, but I guess he just volunteered this information regarding this that I think is very interesting. So he said why the NBA should embrace tanking. The NBA, there's a typo there, has been misguided thinking that fans want to see their teams completely compete every night with a chance to win. It's never been that way. When I got into the NBA, they thought they were in the basketball business. They aren't. They are in the business of creating experiences for fans. Few can remember the score from the last game they saw or went to. They can't remember the dunks or shots. What they can remember is who they were with. Their families, friends, a date. That's what makes the experience special. Fans know their team can't win every game. They know only one team can win a ring. What a fan cares about, what fan that care. I don't know what he's trying to say. There's a lot of bad typo here. What fan that care about their team, what record is hope. I guess he means what fans that care about their team record want is hope. Hope they will get better, have a chance to compete for the playoffs, and then maybe a ring. The only way to get closer to that is via the draft and trades and cap room. And you have a better chance of improving all three when you tank. We didn't tank often, only a few times over 23 years. But when we did, our fans appreciated it. It got us where we could improve, trade up to get Luka, and improve our team. The NBA should not worry about fan experience than tanking. It should worry more about pricing fans out of the games than tanking. You know who cares the least about tanking? A parent who can't afford to bring their 3 kids to a game and buy their kids a jersey of their fave player. Tanking isn't the issue. Affordability and quality of game presentation are. So this is an interesting perspective from somebody who tends to think outside the box on a lot of different things. So shout out to Mark Cuban for bringing this perspective. And I shout out Mark Cuban for highlighting aspects that I think as sports fans, we've probably too easily been able to just kind of like accept, be like, yeah, sure. Yeah, games are exorbitantly priced, and going to send a family or going with a date or whatever, it's just like, it's like costing you an arm and a leg in a situation where our economy is a disaster. So I appreciate that he's bringing a perspective that really doesn't get talked about amongst these, definitely these billionaire owners. And I don't think he's being talked about amongst like reporters and people who cover the sport. Like we don't address the fact that for something that is supposed to be a family thing, it just isn't. There's no denying that. It's one of the things I mentioned when I talked about WrestleMania. I've talked about it with my brother Kendall, and one of the things that we don't know what's true, what's not true. We don't know what's conveniently true or convenient for the sake of pushing it in the narrative, but we talked about it with WWE. We talked about the pricing of WrestleMania and how ticket sales have been low, and everyone's been pointing to like, man, like these ticket prices are just completely outrageous. I understand it's WrestleMania, it's the biggest wrestling event of the year. It should not cost the same as the Super Bowl. It just should not. It's not as popular as the Super Bowl. It's very popular. It's a big deal. It should not cost like a Super Bowl. And WWE, especially since they've been taken over by TKO and Endeavor, they have moved forward in the UFC model of premium ticket pricing. And with that has made it difficult, I think, for fans who consistently get to events, especially as families. So I really appreciate Cuban talking about affordability, game presentation as one of the things that, you know, make the situation something that is not being talked about enough. And I also think he makes what is, I feel like, an inaugural point about tanking. If you ask fans of the Utah Jazz, most of them, who really follow the team closely, or the Wizards, or the Pacers, or who are these other teams we got going on here? The Nets, obviously. Like, if you actually ask the fans of those teams, and I know Nets fans, so I actually talk to them. I talk to Evan Roberts all the time. Like, I don't talk to him all the time, to be clear. I've talked to him about his Nets in the past. Want to make that very clear. But they have no problem with what's going on this season. They know the season's a joke. They know that they're tanking. Would they prefer their team to be good? Sure, but it's not possible given where they're at. And it's something that my brother Kendall mentioned, which is why I think he deserves a massive shout out, because he talks about this a ton. That, like, he is totally okay with tanking and understanding why teams do it. And that most fans, he doesn't think really think is that big a deal for the team, people that actually follow the teams. Now, what I will say is, I think if you're looking for the casual fan that Mark Cuban is talking about, yes, fan experience is important, but I do think competition level is also important. I don't think that that's nothing. I don't think that fans want to go to a game and you're playing against the Utah Jazz or you're playing against the Nets and they're just, I mean, those teams are not like teams that people know about anyway, but I think they prefer to see better players out there than the scrubs that are typically playing for those teams. That's just my view of it. But I do think from a distance standpoint, like as someone, like I think it's interesting to think about fan perspectives. Like people go crazy about this tanking thing, and I think some of the stuff involving trying to keep picks, like that's why the pick protection thing has to go, because that is outrageous. That's why a lot of this is happening to the egregious way it is. Because the teams we keep talking about, the Wizards, the Jazz, and the Pacers, those are teams that are trying to keep their draft picks. Which is something Mark Cuban himself actually did, by the way. He also finagled games at the end of the season to lose and miss the play-in in order to confirm that they would not be able to give their first-round pick to the New York Knicks. That's why that has to go. But to me, as a Knicks fan, if the Utah Jazz come to the Garden and they don't want to play Lowry Markkanen, I'm not shedding a tear. And I don't particularly care. I want to see my team win. So now, if I go to the game, will it be kind of weird? I'm like, oh, this is kind of like a dud game or whatever. For me as a basketball fan, yeah, I prefer to see a better game, but I'm not gonna trip. Like I went to LA years and years ago with my fiance to see the Knicks play the Clippers, and Kawhi was on his load management. And I was like, oh man, this is the fan perspective people talk about. And I was like, on the flip side, like, wow, I came out here and I paid full price, and Kawhi Leonard's not going to play simply because of load management. But on the other side, I was like, well, now Knicks got a chance to win, maybe. Like, so it didn't bother me nearly as much as maybe I thought it would, though I could see if you were a Kawhi Leonard fan, and this is why you came to this game, and you wanted to see the Claw play in person, and then he's sitting out, and you flew cross country, paid hotel money and all this stuff to see him, I could see someone else being like, this sucks. This really sucks. But I think he said something out loud that I do think is important, and we have to consider prior to simply just saying we need to upend the system, is do the fans actually, NBA fans, care about this? Because the NBA, in terms of TV and all those good things, I think that they're doing okay. They just signed a massive TV deal. The NBA in-season tournament does very well. The All-Star game did very well. So, are they in this? Is this dire situation where this has to be saved, and we need to figure out tanking prior to figuring out, hey, maybe we should make games more affordable? I think they're fair questions. The only thing I'll say is, like I said before, I think that the one place where I'll disagree with Cuban is I think that the reason why this needs to be addressed is because while this is the best avenue you have to improving your team, it is still you still have such a small chance for this to actually work that I think it's not a foolproof enough plan for fans to sign up to this, or for the league should be willing to sign up for saying, like, hey, you know what, Utah Jazz, it doesn't matter that you traded Donovan Mitchell, 4 years ago? And you've had zero improvement. It doesn't matter. And you can keep doing the same strategy. Like, they have a head coach there in Will Hardy who's been horrible in terms of his win-loss record. And he's in no threat at all to be fired, no threat at all to be on the hot seat in any way. He's signed to a long-term deal because they are under the understanding that he is doing the job correctly. And I say doing the job like a wrestling fan on purpose, because he is jobbing to these NBA teams knowing that their plan is to try to lose games and tank in order they can get higher draft picks in order to keep their draft pick this year. So he's not in danger of losing his job because they're firing, because they're losing. And that, again, losing just shouldn't be incentivized as part of a sport. I firmly believe that. I think, forget about whether it's a crisis. I just think you improve your sport if you eliminate this. That's why I'm for it. Like, in terms of, I always say, I have nothing against a team tanking. I think it's corny that they do this whole, hey, I'm going to keep my pick, so I'm going to make trades, but then my team's going to be bad, so I think that's corny. Like, I just dislike it. Like, that feels like you're gaming the system in a way that should be easily fixed by simply getting rid of pick protection. That shouldn't be part of trades anymore. Either you're trading a lottery pick or you're not trading a lottery pick. There is no protecting this first round pick. But hey, if it's top 5 or top 4, I want to keep it. And ooh, I'm kind of bad. And now I'm in danger of losing my pick. Well, let me make sure we lose enough so that we have a better opportunity to keep the pick. That calculus should be out of the equation. We're not even talking about trying to get the number 1 pick or trying to get the best player in this draft and what's a great draft. You're just trying to survive. You're just trying to be bad enough to keep your pick, and that shouldn't be part of the equation. So I think that's the part of it that I think needs to be addressed completely. But on the surface, I've always said I can never blame a team for tanking. I think tanking makes sense. It's not foolproof. You could very well fail at it, but you're better off doing that than doing, again, whatever a lot of these teams in the middle have been doing for X amount of years. You're just better off. Where you're just sitting in the middle, you have no shot to win, but you there's nothing else to do, so you're going to keep competing. And it's like, where is this team going? Where are you? The Utah Jazz were a great example of that prior to when Danny Ainge got there. Like, they got to be a number 1 seed in one of those years, but in the other years where they were kind of just mired in the middle of the Western Conference with no upward mobility towards being an actual NBA champion, it's like, okay, well, what are we doing at this point? And that's tough because it shouldn't be that way. It didn't used to be that way. Like, we were a perennial playoff team. Like, you could live with that and you could be fine. We live now in a all or nothing kind of sports society, and a lot of the NBA players will talk about this a ton, where it's, well, if I don't, all that matters is the playoffs, and if I win the playoffs, or I don't win a championship, essentially everything is for naught. And yes, in the past, championships were important, but we celebrated guys even if they weren't champions, though. Like, that was, we really kind of kept that for, like, the elite of the elite. Like, the Jordans, the Isaiahs, like, those are the guys that you were like, oh, this guy didn't win a championship, therefore it. But, like, people know Dominique was awesome. Dominique never came all that close to winning a championship, but he was awesome. And people celebrated him, he was great. Bernard King was awesome. Like, there are guys who played in the NBA who did not win championships, were not close, and they didn't carry, like, slander with their name. You still put respect on their name. I think teams and players today don't feel like that's the case. I think just because how sports conversation and sports commentary has evolved over time. It may not be the most fair situation, but I think it's the reality. So I get what Cuban's saying, man. I think that fans are smart enough to realize that based on the NBA system that they have created, that tanking actually works. And for a lot of folks who go to games, yeah, a lot of it is a social event. I think that's why it's very interesting how baseball, I think from a investment in like who's winning and losing and who are the best teams and who are the best players in that aspect, investment in that, I think is as low as arguably it's ever been. But investment in going to games is super high. Gate at baseball games is awesome. Now, this World Series did great. The last two World Series did great because the Dodgers were in it. But so that even in TV, maybe it's coming back. Who knows? But I just feel like growing up, I mean, again, baseball players, it was still, it may have been, still may have been as popular as football, but it was still, you could say it was America's pastime and not roll your eyes. it was like, no, this really is America's pastime. We really do think Roger Clemens and Mark McGwire are big deals. But it's so different now. I think, like, I think if I ask 100 people right there in New York City, you know what Cal Raleigh is, I think 30 people maybe probably would know. If I just randomly pick people randomly out on the street that's out there walking in New York City right now. And this is a baseball city. You couldn't do that with Mark McGwire. You couldn't do that with Sammy Sosa. So investment in actually the games, who's good, who's winning and losing, I think we've seen that that's not as important anymore to the Americana complex. Going to baseball games will always be important. Going to baseball games is still very important. I think a big reason why is the baseball experience is still an awesome in-person experience. It's not as expensive. It's expensive. I'm not going to just take baseball completely off the hook. All these sports are robbing us. But it's not as expensive. Obviously, it's a summer sport, so the weather's typically nice if you're going out. So it's a day outside the house, and outside of a building. It's a family-friendly atmosphere. So, and even though it's a slower game, it almost becomes more of a social event than it even is like actually sitting there and watching a game. Like, I personally, I love going to baseball games, and I will always. I mean, I love basketball. But I love going to baseball games, and I struggle sometimes because I care so much about the Mets, for example. And I care about strategy of the game, what's going on. I just find it so hard to actually focus on that at a baseball game, in part because it's actually just like so fun. It's just a beautiful day or a beautiful night at the park. You're with your girl or with your friends and you're just chatting and just doing fun stuff on the screen, and you think about what food you're gonna get. You think you might get another hot dog, might get another drink, like all these different things. I'm thinking about all the other aspects of the baseball game that just make it such a great experience. So that part that Cuban has, he's not off on this. I'm sorry, like he's not. Like he's spitting. That this is an aspect of the NBA that absolutely is a problem. You know, I live in a city and I root for a team that, in order to watch my hometown team play, now I've done it because I care about the Knicks that much, but to watch my hometown team play, even in the nosebleeds, it's like I went out to a 5-star restaurant with my fiance if we went out together to watch a Knicks game. And that makes me playing against the Kings, and that's the price. And if I wanted to like get decent seats, which I've done in the past as well, you're talking about rent money like that. I mean, I'm not joking. Like that's the reality. And again, I've done it because I love the team that much. But you know how many people who simply, and I'm not in a position to do it right now, but I was in a position at points in my life where I was able to do that. But you know how many people who would kill for that can never do that, can never sit in the nosebleeds, can never sit anywhere at the Garden because of that? And that does hurt fan engagement. That does hurt fan interaction. Now, I would argue that plus your team being bad really makes it worse. Like, I think if your team was good and you're able to charge those prices, I think it's a lot easier. There's a lot of Knicks fans, like, I know their Knicks fans are great, and a lot of us have been 10 toes down in this struggle. I'm sure there are folks who have, as the Knicks started getting good, started pulling their Knicks stuff out of their deep in their closet because they weren't rocking with us when we were winning 16, 17 games a year. I was there. A lot of you weren't. So a lot of people are able to come back, but those people, maybe they would have stayed more if the team was more willing to allow people to get in without having to pay an arm and a leg. I think this is fascinating. I wonder if there's anybody in the chat, if you're watching the show, we got a decent amount of viewers tonight. If anybody feels a certain way about Mark Cuban's comments regarding the NBA and his thought process that the NBA should actually embrace tanking. That was the thesis. I feel like, I don't know what Mark Cuban's end game is in terms of just what he's been doing for the last, I don't know how many months since he left the Mavs, where he had this beef with Pablo Torre. He goes on these long rants. A lot of them are outside the box takes. I feel like he's trying to like promote, like, I feel like he could be he could do this. Like, he could be a streamer. He could be a commentator. Because he definitely got takes. There's no question about that, Mike. Is he trial ballooning some takes to maybe see if he can launch his own podcast or whatever and see if people are interested in that? And I think the whole first sentence of why the NBA should embrace tanking is probably like a little bit like a clickbaity. Again, he's smart. He knows what he's doing. It's like a clickbait lead to make you keep reading about like what? I don't think he actually thinks they should embrace tanking. I think he thinks they should just allow it. They should feel like this is a part of the game. It's fine. Like, who actually cares if you're going to a game, whether or not your team actually really won or lost? You're probably going more for the experience, and the experience of actually going to basketball games isn't quite as good. I guess, again, the downside to that is, while he's right, and again, baseball has solved this where they can still get people to the ballpark, you still don't get people talking about your game, though. And I think that's still, there's still equity and there's still money in that. So I think that's not important. Is a balance. All of it is a balance. But I can't fault these teams for tanking. Mark Cuban's not, I still don't. Again, my brother talks about it all the time. Like, with the system that is in place, it's the right thing to do. The question becomes, is there something better we can do? Which is why I'll propose the same plan I've been proposing for months now. It's simple. And I think that it would solve all of this. You'd never have to worry about tanking. And you still have the drama that comes with an NBA lottery. Flatten the odds completely for every single team. And if that's not enough, then just put every team in the lottery. I'm actually now, I'm really, the more I bring up the whole bringing every team in the lottery thing, and the more people are actually getting on board with that, I am more leaning towards just putting every team in the lottery at this point. I think that is a radical solution to this, but I think that all this stuff we're talking about ends with this. And you still have intrigue, and all these teams that are bad, they still have an opportunity to get good because they can still win the lottery. It's not like they would not have a shot. They all have even shots. I don't think it kills parity at all. And you keep the draft interesting. And again, I think you actually end up creating actually more interesting storylines than you would if you just kept giving the best players to the bad teams. Which you don't do anyway, because the way the lotteries worked recently, again, Zachary Ricochet and Cooper Flagg went to teams that were really not that bad. They didn't make the playoffs, but they were right on the borderline of being a play-in team, basically. I think the Mavs were a play-in team. The Hawks might have been too. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember that one. But, like, they're not even going to the worst teams anymore. So why are we like getting so, like, for the folks that may be scared of doing something as radical as putting everybody in the lottery, why are we so afraid of a top pick going to a good team? It's kind of happening already. They tried to even the odds out a little bit more, and we've had more radical movement with the draft lottery, and you're still seeing teams trying to tank. And now they're tanking for ulterior motives. Some of them are tanking just to get the best pick, and they don't care that their odds don't matter as much because lower odded teams are still getting number one pick. There are some teams, again, that have this stupid pick protection thing. We're like, well, forget about you trying to get number one pick. We just don't want to lose this pick, so therefore we're going to tank. Get rid of pick protections, put everybody in the lottery. All this is done. No one tanks anymore. Everyone goes out there to try to win games. And what you end up having is essentially it becomes more of a soccer model. Which I don't know if people would love, but it would be different. Where I think, like, the bad teams, like, you better find some money or find a way to become better. It's not going to be simply just handing you young, cheap talent. Like, you got to actually build the team the right way. You got to actually scout. You got to actually do your job. Like, when me and Dex were talking about it last night, he talked about how, like, you know, he's a pro eliminate the draft guy, which I will never be. I love the draft too much. I love the draft too much. I also think that it's not working right now because Adam Silver screwed it up royally. For something that was such a boon, I feel like, for NBA interest and for I think about watching Winning Time and how David Stern in that show, when he gives the MVP award to Magic Johnson for the finals, even though it should have went to Kareem, even though he didn't play in Game 7, how David Stern is like, hey, no, this is a TV show, and it's all about just putting the stars in the right place, Magic. He tried to tell him, like, it doesn't matter that you probably shouldn't have got MVP. The point is, it's better for the story that you get the MVP. And I just feel like when we think about, like, the future of this situation and where the league is going, I just think that it just is the story that can be created through the draft and what the draft brings in terms of bringing the element of you make people want to watch college basketball, which you screwed up by doing the stupid G League Ignite thing when you had a good thing going for you, like John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins and Derrick Rose and all these one and done guys, Kevin Durant. Like, these guys came in with established fan bases, and that actually helped your league. I know these young kids, because they have Instagram and they're on overtime and, all their mixed hoop tapes and stuff, and their workouts are all online. But it's still not the same as a player being associated with a university, because that university comes with alumni, comes with boosters, so automatically comes with interest. So you have these mini stars that are coming into your league that have a following. And that following helps your league because people want to follow them into the NBA. It's simple as day. And the fact that he thought, oh, no, let's kneecap college basketball. I still don't know why he did it. Like, there hasn't been a good reason why the G League Ignite thing had to happen. It was something like something players being taken advantage of in college because they're not getting paid. So here's an alternative that we think will make the G League hot. But but then when it was only one G League team, it was actually one of the dumbest things the NBA has done. It's just dumb. Because it hurt. The G League is not important. Let me be clear. I don't know if I'm breaking spoilers alerts for the NBA offices or people, but the G League does not mean anything. It means something in terms of individual development. We want to develop players. We want to develop coaches. From that standpoint, it's important. To the consumer, it has zero importance. It will always have zero importance. Just like minor league baseball has zero importance to the Major League Baseball fan. The only importance minor league baseball has is to see what prospects are coming up, and even those games people don't watch. They may have importance in that minor league baseball, again, talk about fan experience, does a great job with like their local towns. Going to those games are important, and the atmosphere they create in minor league ballparks is awesome. But in the grand scheme, it's never going to be important. Just like the G League, which has essentially no fan experience, is not important. And the fact that he thought, like, I wanted to make something that is not important crack through and then take something that actually is important to our league, which is our relationship with the colleges, and kneecap that, completely asinine. So I know he screwed up the draft. But now that G League Ignite is gone, and now it seems like more people want to go to college than do any of these other stuff. They want to go back to college after playing in the NBA. Again, there's an opportunity for the NBA draft to be a great TV show, a great marketing ploy for the league, and a great launching pad for these young stars that you want to come in with established fans. It helps that Cooper Flagg comes in with all the fans of the Brotherhood of Duke University as he becomes a young star in the NBA. It helps. He was a G League Ignite guy. Would he be a star still? Yeah, because there's a lot of other aspects about his game, about him, that make him interesting. But it helps that he comes with Duke. It's asinine that he actually somehow thought that was something he wanted to destroy, or that there was money that the NBA could gain out of this. Like, the NBA needs more money. Like, give me a break. So I'm not for getting rid of the draft. Dex made an interesting thing, like, if you made like a signing day, would it be like kind of interesting and cool? I guess, but again, I think there's something to when the NBA draft is done right and people actually know who the hell these guys are. I think this year will be a great example of that, because people actually do know who these guys are this year. People from like these teams, like these fans of the Jazz, fans of the Pacers, fans of the Wizards, they've been watching these kids all year. Like, they know exactly who these kids are. They've been following their games. They've been watching their games. I know because I've been there. I do it anyway just as a NBA draft nerd. But I did it as a Knicks fan, where I had to watch Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, and Ja Morant. I had to say, one of these guys is going to be a Knick. I want to know who these guys are. I want to see who the Knicks should get. Because you want to go at the water cooler with your friends, who may not be as many of them, because your team is a sorry-ass team, but you do want to say, hey, I saw this guy at Kansas. We got to get Darren Peterson. We got to get this BYU kid, A.J. DeBanza. We got to get, this kid, Cam Boozer from Duke. He's the next one. Like, you want to be part of that dialogue. You want to be part of that conversation. It's just part of community. It's part of what sports is about. If you go with let's eliminate the draft and let's just leave it to kind of chance, or leave it to the team just to sign guys, I just don't. I think it takes away that aspect of it. I think now it becomes more of like, I guess that's just what my team is gonna do, and it's just. I think it's a miss. I think it'd be a miss. Now, the draft has problems. I'm starting to agree with people that maybe it's too close to the end of the NBA season, and the presentation of it can improve with the whole hat deal and trades not being finalized. There's things that got fixed with the draft too. I hope. I'm not trying to get anybody fired or to quit before they want to, but whenever Adam Silver decides that he wants to hang it up at some point in time, I just hope that the next commissioner, or if it's him, if he wants to have this thing, I just want someone to have a radical idea of how to really come in and just take a wrecking ball to some of the NBA fabrics, because I think it's just a lot of it's outdated. Basketball, some aspects of the NBA, I think, are starting to feel like baseball, where baseball didn't adjust for so many years and so many things seem to be so antiquated, and they didn't adjust fast enough. The NBA does have some on court stuff, but I think they're fixing it with some of the allowing more physical defense. But beyond that, I think the 3-point shot, there's thing you could do, but otherwise, I think the actual play on the court, I don't think is as bad as people are making that out to be. Old fogies that don't like threes, they're not going to be important. I wouldn't worry about them. I'm not worried about the 65-year-old fan. I'm sorry, I'm not. And no business should. Like, no business should be worried. I'm sorry, and it's not. I don't mean to be ageist. It's just a reality of capitalism. It does not make sense to care what the 65-year-old consumer thinks when you have 25-year-old consumers who are your target audience. So I don't care what they think. So they are, I hate the 3-point shot. All right, whatever. Do the young kids care? They don't care? All right, then let's move on. But I do think when it comes to the tanking, it comes to the draft, it comes to, again, the on-court product. The on-court product itself has the small tweaks maybe they can do, but nothing insane. The other stuff, I think, is antiquated. Draft lottery, NBA schedule. Like, I'm for the 82-game schedule because that's what we always played. I think there needs to be a drastic look at how you do an NBA schedule. I don't want to cut games, but if this is going to be the product, they might not have a choice. Which is why I'm saying, again, I want the next commissioner or Adam Silver himself to come up with a very creative way, even if it means to keep the 82 games intact. But I mean, I've been in favor of like allowing playoff seeding to be determined throughout the entire season. Like make the NBA season multiple seasons, not one. Maybe the first month is where you can secure home court advantage in the playoffs. Make these games matter in a way that people can grapple with and people can understand, so people can feel like there's always urgency. Like, you just got to create more urgency throughout the season. The NBA tournament, NBA in-season tournament, which is working, because the urgency is money, and even that has worked. But put some stakes on the NBA in-season tournament. Put up a guaranteed playoff spot. Put up something like that actually is tangible for a team to actually want over the course of the season. I think about, I'm on a tangent now, but this is how the show goes. Shout out to y'all rocking with me. I think about, like, I'm watching Traders. I love Traders. It's, in my opinion, one of the best shows on television right now. This reality game show where these celebrities are, trying to they're doing a whodunit of who is the murderers in the house that's eliminating people from the house. Meanwhile, like, during every episode, they have challenges they have to do. And the challenges matter because the challenges keep you from elimination. They give you more money. Like, there's advantages to winning these challenges. Like, you may say, okay, why do I care about the challenges? Why do I just worry about what happens at the end of the episode to see who dies and who gets banished? Because that's essentially the NBA playoffs, right? That's what we care about. Who's eliminated, who has a chance to win a championship. The show is smart because they make these challenges factor in who actually may be available to win a championship in the end. The NBA needs to do that with the regular season. The games in November and December should matter just as much as the games in April and May. Or not April and May, because that's the NBA playoffs. We know what I mean. March and April. But it takes creativity to do this. But it's not impossible. It just takes innovation. It takes someone with outside the box thinking. I mean, I'm hoping the NBA has someone that's up to the task for this. Or I hope Adam Silver is up to the task for this, because I think that there's actually, because people are so open-minded right now, because we're talking about all this stuff, we're talking about eliminating the draft, and people are not like just, people have been saying this for 30 years. There've been a lot of like black athlete activists who have advocates, like black sports advocates who have mentioned how like the draft is antiquated, and they've made all different points just from a social standpoint why the draft is not a good feature in any sport. So this is not some new process, but this is the most open-minded people I've ever been to changes to the schedule, changes to the lottery, changes to the actual draft. You should be using this as an opportunity to get all your stuff off. That's why I didn't like that stupid list I showed you with all the things they wanted to do, and one of them was, it wasn't a stupid list, but like one of the ideas was do a tournament for the lottery and make that be the determination of like who wins the number one pick in the draft. I think that's not a good idea for a lot of different reasons, but I'm totally fine with the outside the box thinking. I'm like, yeah, that's what you should be doing, thinking that outside the box with all of this. Because I think that it's like, Triple H said, man, adopt or perish. Like, this is your opportunity to actually make substantial change. And I think that there are things you can do. I would love to get in the NBA offices, get in the competition committee, man. That's another job. All these fake jobs I want. Like, I want to be a casting director for Love Is Blind. I also would love to be part of the NBA competition committee. I would love that job. I mean, maybe that's one of those be careful what you wish for kind of things. So I don't know what goes in the competition committee, but I really think that if you got, and to be honest, I would love for the NBA to like, I know they have people in house. Again, they have a actual competition committee, but I would actually love for them to like take like all people from all different facets. Like I'm just gonna throw out names. Isaiah Thomas and like Bill Simmons and Tom Thibodeau, like just take a bunch of coaches, former players, media members, agents, like put all of them in a room and say, hey, let's just start. If we were starting a new league right now, forget about, we'll figure out the rules around the NBA that don't fit what we want to do in it's like, forget about that. We were starting a new NBA, a new league right now. What would be the best way we can go about making this league? Be that bold. Be that aggressive with the change. Because I think it's people are ready for it. This All-Star game was proof. People say All-Star games don't matter. People were kicking and screaming about how bad this All-Star game is going to be, including me, by the way. I'll raise my hand. Now, I've been for radical change. I didn't like this change. I thought that this one didn't work. We just had a game that was 12-minute quarters, 4 games, a tournament. It was bizarre. People loved it. It took a couple iterations. They did the G League thing last year, which was a disaster. But overall, people liked what they saw. So I see that. I'm like, that should be your invitation to, hey, we went bold for something else and it went great. Why don't we go bold for this? So shout out to Mark Cuban for opening the minds of folks when it comes to tanking, and I think bringing up things that were actually important when it comes to the future of the NBA. I want to talk about Jeannie Buss here. So Jeannie Buss was on CNBC, and she cast doubt about LeBron James' future. So I want you to hear the sound from Jeannie, because she was talking about the team. And before we get to the actual sound with LeBron, it first started with questions about Luka. I want you to hear how she speaks about Luka and hear how she speaks about LeBron. It's a big difference in terms of just tenor, in terms of excitement, and all different things. So, she mentioned, again, this is CNBC. So she was promoting, I think it was like a wine or a vodka or something. It's actually a company that I think she's partnering with LeBron James and Michael Jordan with, if I'm not mistaken. But that part of the interview, that was important. I didn't care about. I was caring about the sports aspect. And they talked about the unique arrangement with Mark with Mark Walton owning the team, but like she is still the governor and she still runs the day-to-day operations and what goes into that. And she says like this partnership in many ways will work because of the greatness of Luka Doncic.
I think that the partnership will give us the stability to continue to move forward as we build towards a team around Luka Doncic, who is the number one vote getter in the All-Star game, and we couldn't be more proud that he is a Laker, and he is a young All-Star that the fans love to see.
So I mean, even in this interview, we've heard this messaging a ton that the Lakers are really excited about moving forward in a future that includes Luka Doncic as the face of this team. It's why they made this trade. It is a full transition from this team being LeBron's team to this team now being Luka's team. If you want to know how much Jeannie Buss is excited about this future about Luka Doncic, listen to this comparison when she talks about his game.
Our games are obviously televised. We have great national partners, but Luka's one of those players you need to see in person. The stuff that he does in terms of the passing and how he sees the game, he's almost an illusionist. I think that's where he got the nickname Luka Magic, and certainly we know that comes from Magic Johnson.
Jeannie Buss has known Magic Johnson since she was a teenager. They say they're still good friends. I'm skeptical. If your quote-unquote brother quits on your job, it makes me feel a little awkward. I don't know if that's my best friend or my brother still, but they say that she's still very close. In fact, she even mentioned Magic Johnson in the same comparison with Luka Doncic. Shows you this is absolutely Luka Doncic's show, which is to be expected. So it leads to a good question. Well, what about LeBron James? He's still there. And she was asked point blank, is this LeBron's last year with the Lakers? I love like this when like these people have to do like these interviews like CNBC to push some product or push something. And a lot of these folks, like, they're not in the NBA circles. They don't have necessarily a care for like keeping, keeping things like intact in terms of, I want to ask a question that's going to PO them. Because this guy, forgive me, I don't remember the reporter's name. If he never talks to Jeannie Buss again, he'll be fine. So he's going to ask the question that everybody wants to ask. That maybe, quite frankly, if Jeannie Buss did a gaggle, the question might be put a little more delicately. There was no delicacy with this. And Jeannie, in my opinion, was very non-committal.
Is it safe to say that this may be the final year for LeBron on the Lakers?
I never say never, but, he certainly hasn't given an indication as to, what will, he's earned the right to decide how his career will go. And, he continues to impress. Getting a triple-double again last night is amazing. So, he's a great player.
I mean, the other guy's Magic Johnson. He's a great player. Think about how that question was phrased. Think about that. It was, is it safe to say this could be LeBron's last year? Not even do you think it's LeBron's last year. It was actually a leading question. He's like, can we assume that we won't see LeBron in a Laker uniform next year? And the way she answered it was, never say never. That is not I think, good if you're someone who wants LeBron to remain a Laker. Like, she made it seem, you say never about things that you don't think are going to happen, but you just don't want to just throw them completely under the bus because you don't want to break a relationship or screw something or say something that, oh crap, I didn't realize this was not finalized, you know. That's what you say. Like, wrestlers always say never about stuff because they're like, listen, I don't know if I'm going to need to work back at WWE at some point, or they offer me a lot of money and I don't want them to say, oh, well, you said you never work for us again, so therefore, bye-bye, I'm not taking your deal, whatever. So, never say never is not confidence boosting in any way that LeBron will remain with the Lakers moving forward past this season. I think that this is a done deal of either two sorts. He's not going to be a Laker next year. I'm convinced of that. So I think there's only two things that could be happening. I think he either is going to retire after the season, or he's going to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers and he's going to join them for one final season like next year. Those are the only two options to him. He may still be deciding, which maybe is why he was so emotional during that game in Cleveland. But I'm one of those folks, man, and like, these guys know what's going on way earlier than what's reported and what's being put out there. And LeBron has been too Machiavellian for his entire career to think that now this is the one where it's just like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Oh, we'll see. What do the Lakers want me? Will they offer me a contract out? I don't think that that's the case. And her saying that he's given them no communication, no indication. If he's giving you no communication, knowing LeBron James, that means he sees no future with you. Like, no communication stuff is what you heard from the Cavs during the whole recruitment, try to keep him before he went to Miami. It's what you heard from Miami. Chris Bosh just talked about that on one of these podcasts. He talked about how pissed he was because he didn't know LeBron was leaving the Heat until 10 minutes before it was announced that he was going to the Cavs or something like that. And he talked about how mad he was, and he thought that it was disrespectful given everything that they had done, that he left like that. And that's how LeBron operates, man. When he's done with you, he just cuts you off. And it's odd. And this is one of those things where it's like, I think the Lakers are perfectly fine with being cut off. Again, you see how Jeannie Buss is talking about, again, the great Luka Doncic, comparing him to Luka Magic, right? Like, I think that they're fine with this. It's one of those things where oh, no, you dumped me. Okay, I get it. It's fine. I'll survive. I think that they're fine with this breakup. But I think both of these sides are kind of played like a game of chicken. And I think it's clear who's dumping who. I think it's clear that the Lakers are kind of dumping LeBron. It's one of those things where it's a very harsh analogy. But it's one of those things where it's I don't even know if this actually happens, but it's if you're in a relationship with somebody and you say, hey man, I want to move forward with a younger, hotter person, and they're going to move in the house with this, but you can stick around. You can stick around, we can still split rent, we can still, go out to dinner every now and then, but I think my future's with this other person, so I don't want to ruin this shot with them. So if you want to leave, you can, but you don't have to. I mean, it's one of those I think you get the hint. All right, this person wants to move forward without me. I'm being dumped. I'm gonna move forward. That's why this LeBron thing feels so strange, because it's just he's such a mega star that it doesn't matter how old he is. He can't not be the center of some team's attention. It's the center of some team's universe, and if he's not, it just creates an awkward situation. And this is what the Lakers have right now, an awkward situation. It's very weird because they're a team that's still not that bad. And they're a team that, in theory, could still make noise potentially in this upcoming playoffs. But I do have some doubts whether or not that's actually going to be possible, given where the Lakers are at this point in time. But Jeannie Buss, that didn't sound very confident to me that she's going to be moving forward with LeBron James as a member of the Lakers next year. He said never say never. That's not, to me, a good sign. If, again, you're a fan of wanting to see LeBron end his career with the Lakers, and I'll say this real quick too, I'm okay with all of this. I've said before, I think it would be cooler for the NBA and cooler for LeBron if we're going to talk about LeBron's legacy and all that other stuff, whatever. I think it would be cooler if he ends his career with the Cavs. I think that it would make sense. I think that that's the team that people will still associate him with the most. It's the most important title. It's his home area. go to the Cavs, have a final year, retirement tour. You'll be on a good team. So, like, the Cavs next year with LeBron James are a title contender. No question. They're an Eastern Conference contender now. I don't know what they give up for him. Like, I'd be very curious what that package looks like. Because I assume it's going to be a sign and trade. I'm almost certain the Cavs don't have cap space. Though, I don't know. Maybe he signs for a mid-level exception. That seems impossible to think about LeBron James. Because he doesn't play for discounts. Not at this stage of his career. He did earlier. Not now. I can't imagine he would do that again. And this would be a massive discount. This wouldn't be a little bit of like, okay, I'm taking $5 million less than the max. This would be a huge, passing up probably $20 million, $25 million, maybe more, if he takes like a mid-level exception to play for the Cavs. So I'd be curious what kind of trade package and what that looks like. I assume Jared Allen's the center of that. I can't imagine you're trading Evan Mobley. So I assume it's Jared Allen. Actually, it kind of makes me want to go to the trade machine. That's the great thing about doing the live stream is that, again, I can actually show you things, and you could follow along with me and see if trades can happen. And I'm very curious, what would a LeBron James to the Cavaliers trade look like? Because I'm pretty sure it would have to be a trade. Because I don't think it would be a signing. LeBron made $52 million last year, and the Cavs are $57 million. They're $57 million over the cap, and they're $3 million over the first tax line, first apron. So there's no way that that's happening. So if you put LeBron here, and that's not the right thing to do. And I'm on NBA trade machine right now, and I'll share my screen. So if you say, okay, we're trading LeBron James, he's going to the Cavs. Let's say, again, my thought process was Jared Allen be the center of that trade. As crazy as that sounds, because he's nowhere near the player LeBron James, obviously. But you put Jared Allen and Max Strus. Schroeder probably have to go in that deal. And I'm going to have to put Sam Merrill's going to have to go in that deal. Okay, that's $58 million. So actually, you might not need Sam Merrill. What if I just do Jared Allen, Max Strus, and Dennis Schroeder? Mind you, this is a Cavs team that doesn't have a lot of draft picks. This trade would work. That trade is awful, though. But I mean, the Lakers do need a real center because DeAndre Ayton is DeAndre Ayton. He's just not that reliable. So they could use Jared Allen. He wouldn't be a non-useful piece. But for LeBron James, like, that would seem to be, I don't know. Is there anything else we can add to this that would make this interesting? It's not great. The Cavs don't have a great package. If you're doing it for the Lakers, you're doing this purely as a way to do a solid. Because, again, there's no way you're trading Evan Mobley. There's no way. That would be idiotic. So I think that's the trade you do. But, man, that's a tough beat if that's the trade you got to make if you're the Lakers. Like, all right, it's LeBron James, but, like, the best we can do is this. Now, again, we'll have to be a sign and trade, which, by the way, I'm not sure either team can even do because they're over the first tax line. So these other teams, so both the Lakers and the Cavs would have to cut some salary to make this happen. So, which they might be able to do. Like, there's some money coming off the books. Thomas Bryant's coming off the books for the Cavs. Keon Ellis is coming off the books, so he's probably a guy they're gonna want to retain. Larry Nance. The Lakers actually have a bunch of guys coming off the books. Rui, Max. So sign and trade should be doable. That should be good. I'm actually curious what the NBA cap sheet is for either team for next year, 2026. Let's see. I guess this would be probably the way to look at this. Let's see. Yeah, so this is now, I can show you guys this as well. No, that don't look right. No, that's not right at all. Or maybe it's projected. Let me see. No, it's not right. Yeah, this doesn't work. But either way, Lakers and the Cavs, they should be able to get under those tax lines by the time the offseason starts. They actually may be able to do a sign and trade. That might be possible. But I think that's the scenario. Either that's going to happen, a sign and trade to the Cavs, or he's going to retire. I think it's pretty simple. Let's move forward now. We got James Harrison coming to the defense of one Ben Roethlisberger. So if you remember last week, you had the diss heard around Super Bowl Radio Row. Though actually, it was ironic because it happened on Super Bowl Radio Row, but I didn't see that video out until after the Super Bowl. It's kind of weird. I was like, whoa, where did this video come from? But James Harrison, I forgot what show he was on, but Joey Porter rather was on a show during Super Bowl week, and he took a flamethrower to James Harrison and Ben Roethlisberger, and the biggest one to Ben Roethlisberger. Actually, I don't have it loaded up. I'm gonna see if I can play you guys that sound real quick because it was very inflammatory in terms of Ben Roethlisberger and how he is a bad teammate and a bad person. He wanted to make that clear. He was not just saying he's just a bad teammate. He said he's an overall bad dude, and it's all stemmed from his frustration that Ben Roethlisberger spoke down on Mike Tomlin. And I'll play you guys this aspect. This is Joey Porter, who said that Ben Roethlisberger had no business talking about anything regarding the Steelers and Mike Tomlin, given he was a bad teammate.
Broke the brotherhood, then Seven definitely broke the brotherhood because, like,
that's the one I don't understand
the shit
as much.
that Seven did that we don't talk about.
I know.
Is crazy. Like out of anybody should talk, he should never grab a microphone and really talk Steeler business. Yeah. Because if we talking Steeler business, his ass is foul of all foul. Like the shit that he's did is foul of all foul. He's not a good teammate.
Apologies for the language there. There may be some more bad language here, but here's also Joey Porter again reiterating that he thinks that Ben Roethlisberger is a bad person.
Won the Super Bowl with him, but the person, he's just not a good teammate. Like, he knows that. Anybody in the Steeler building knows that, but we protected him because I've only won one Super Bowl, and that was my quarterback. So do I love my quarterback? Yeah, but is he a good person? No.
Is he a good person? No. Shout out to Joey Porter. So James Harrison came out in strong defense. He also had some smoke for James Harrison. He said, James Harrison, you were essentially a nobody before Mike Tomlin got here. You were a nobody. Bill Cowher cut you multiple times. You were essentially a scrub. And then Mike Tomlin gave you confidence, built you up, and you signed a massive contract, became Defensive Player of the Year. Like, why would you talk that down on a guy who basically made your career, or at the very least gave you an opportunity? Because I don't like that whole major career thing, but he did give him an opportunity for sure and believed in him. And James Harrison, I don't have that sound, but he said essentially like, listen, my talk about Mike Tomlin is purely the job he has done as Steelers coach since I left. And he points to the fact that I think he said 12 of the last 14 first and second round picks, none of those guys re-signed to extensions after their rookie contract. He said that's not a good job, and he's picking the players. So he said that he felt that he kept his criticism about Mike Tomlin as aggressive as it was, because it was. He said he was a bad coach and all these different things. He said he kept it to football, and he thought that Joey Porter got personal, and he did not like that, especially when it came to talking about Ben Roethlisberger's character.
Peasy, that was just a pure out attack on Ben's character. And what I said about Mike was an attack on his coaching, dude. Okay? Two different things. And that's more breaking the brotherhood than what Ben said. Ben said, I feel that maybe Tomlin should move on. Like, come on, bruh. That's what he said. I went way harder than that. But he went on it because he obviously has a personal issue with Ben that hasn't been resolved.
I mean, I don't know if that's true, to be clear, that last part. I don't know if he has a personal issue that hasn't been resolved, and that's why he's saying this. He could just feel like he's a jerk and that he's a bad person. It might not be smoke that's up. Like, I think there are people that I might not like. I don't think it means that, oh, this issue wasn't resolved, so that's why I'm saying the guy's a bad person. No, the guy just may be a bad person. There may not be anything to resolve between Joey Porter and Ben Roethlisberger. I would not know that. To be clear, James Harrison obviously knows these guys better than I do, obviously, and we're talking about how much he knows Ben Roethlisberger. But I don't know if that's a fair assumption unless he knows something that I don't know, which is possible. But to say, oh, he's saying this simply because there's a personal issue that he doesn't like, I don't know if that's fair, especially because if you listen to Joey Porter and what he said in those comments was everybody knows this guy's a bad person. Like, he's done things to other people. So, like, it's not like this is a me thing. Like, that's the whole point that Joey was putting out, was that this isn't a me. The whole Steelers community knows that he's bad. And then again, what I will say what I said last week when I talked about this, if you go to that Instagram post or TikTok post, wherever it is, I'm pretty sure it was Instagram where it was posted initially, and you look at all the former Steelers, and current Steelers, I think, who were in the comments being like, let's talk about it, Joey Porter. You damn right, brother. Like, you see all of those comments from guys that played with Ben Roethlisberger or have been linked to the Steelers organization or are still playing there. It does make you wonder, what are these things, again, that Ben Roethlisberger has done that isn't public knowledge that we don't know about? Like I say, like that Thugnificent meme from what's it called? From Boondocks. Damn, I thought to myself, what did he do to make them that mad? That's still how I feel about this Ben Roethlisberger situation, because I know about the motorcycle, I know about the sexual assault that he was accused of, that the charges didn't go through because I think the accuser didn't want to move forward with it. I know about those, and those suggest that not a great teammate or a great person if those things are true. That was an accident. Obviously, we know it's true that he went out without a motorcycle, without a helmet, and smashed his face. Obviously, the sexual assault stuff are allegations. But if those are true, yeah, seems like a bad person, and there's really no debate about it. But it almost felt like Joey Porter was talking about there's other things this guy has done, and it says we covered for him. What are these things you're covering up? What was he doing? Was he a menace to society in Pittsburgh? Like, was he running around like acting like he was Pac? Like, what was Ben Roethlisberger doing? Again, Joey Porter, you want to get on a show, you want to talk on a podcast, talk more about Ben Roethlisberger. Open invitation to 40 Days and 40 Nights. I want to hear more about these stories. But James Harrison, again, coming to the defense of Ben Roethlisberger, saying that he has a good relationship right now, but even he would admit that at one time he was an a-hole.
And me personally, I do not think Ben is a bad teammate, okay? Because I have a good relationship with Ben, you know? And I can say this because I talked to Ben. Like, this is not gonna be news to him, okay? But seven could be an asshole.
Says it right there. Like, I know him. We have a relationship. I talk to him. He ain't gonna be surprised when I talk about his past. But he was an a-hole at times. So why is that? James Harrison says that early success in Ben's career led him to get a big head, but he also feels like he's matured, and that's something that people should realize.
When Ben came in, this man went 13-1 as a rookie, okay? Starter. The team was 15-1. His second season, he won a Super Bowl. The youngest quarterback to ever do it, 23.
Yes.
And that's when Seven was born, okay? He became the youngest quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl. Hell yeah. That's go stroke my ego and give me delusions of grandeur. But over time, he has matured and grown up. And you don't value the same things you did at 23 that you do at 30.
So it seems like James Harrison is making the case that the player Joey Porter knew and the man Joey Porter knew is not the Ben Roethlisberger that maybe he knows, and the guy that matured, and the guy that was different when he was older in his career. And he finally says that, like, James Harrison says, look, I've also matured in my life. I'm a different person than I was even 5 years ago, let alone when I was playing. And he says that even the issues that people may have had with Ben Roethlisberger when he was on the Steelers, it was never to the point that it could not be addressed or fixed.
Hell, I'm a different person at 47 than I was at 45. And I'm a far, worse person at 40 than I was at 45. So with that being said, man, yes, it's things that you see in the locker room, you heard in the locker room, but it was never something that we had an issue with that we couldn't correct with each other.
And there have been some other teammates that have come out to defend Ben Roethlisberger as well since these comments. Again, the guys that have played with him, it seemed like later in his career, and maybe there was a maturing that happened. Here's what I'll say. I think that sometimes there's an aspect of, like, especially, again, I want to be clear. I hate the term cancel culture. I hate the idea of cancel culture being like, oh, cancel people are good and they're being canceled. And I always tell people, who are these people that were canceled that you want back so bad? And let's talk about what they did and that if you're okay with the things that they did. But anyway, I do think we do have this weird, now that I call more accountability culture is probably the better way to put it. where we'd say, hey, if you did bad things or you were a bad person and you never were held accountable for it, you probably should be held accountable for it for some degree. I think we, as a society, haven't figured out what to do with these people if they have changed or if they have matured. Are they just thrown away in society forever? Are they able to come back but on a lesser note? Do they have to apologize every time they step to a mic? Like, what do we do? Like, I think Maggie Ray always makes a good point that she feels like Michael Vick is a really great example of someone who overcame that. Like, and he is someone who's like lived his apology through like his actions. Like, he did something heinous that is terrible, and as someone who now became a dog owner, like it becomes more hard for me to understand. It's just not part of anything I've ever been a part of, or anything part of my culture or anything my family or anything like that. Though I know for a lot of black folks, dogfighting is part of their culture. But he's someone that has been an outspoken thing about animal cruelty and has made so many apologies and has tried to give back in many ways, talked to guys and people that have been incarcerated. Like, he's doing his thing. He's living his life. He's coaching football now. He's been a football analyst. Like, I think Mike has done a great job about trying to live that apology, and maybe he's a good example. Because I don't think there's some people who would never like Michael Vick, and that's totally within their right. That's the other thing too. That's the thing I can't stand. Also, is people who think, "Oh, this person apologized. You should like them." I'm like, no. If I never want to like them again, that's my choice. You can like them, but the problem is, again, people have FOMO. They want to be part of a group. They want to be part of a tribe. So if someone's not part of their tribe, it's the instinct to want to say, "Oh, like, well, you are the problem, and we should all be together in this." It's like, no, you can do whatever you want. I don't care. Like, there are some people that like will never like certain people for various different reasons, and that's fine. And we could move on from it. Like, there are people, like, I'm never gonna support John Gruden. Just put it out plain. I'm never gonna support him. I don't. That means I can't commentate on his career in an objective way, and if he's doing something right or he's succeeded as an NFL head coach again, whatever. Yeah, we could talk about that, and I have no problem with it. Will I say, "Oh, I got over John Gruden and what he did"? No, I don't. I'm not gonna get over him being shown as a racist. It's not gonna happen. Could he do something that changes my mind? In theory, sure. I think I'm an open-minded person. He's done nothing. He's not even tried. So I feel very comfortable in how I feel about John Gruden. But the thing is, people will try to, and he's just one example. He's the first time I thought out in my head. I was like, who's someone I can think about that's like that? I don't have a lot of people like that. But there are these folks that people will like want to like bring back into society, and people say, well, I don't like that person. What do you get called? Oh, you're a snowflake. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're that. It's like, no, I don't like them. They did something bad, and I don't support what they did, so I'm not going to support them anymore. And you're not going to get me to say that, you know, they're great or whatever. Like, I can acknowledge their career or acknowledge whatever their achievements are, but I'm not going to support them. I feel like you can do that, and that should be allowed too. And that's not, oh, you're a part of a cancel culture that was whatever, or you're a snowflake and all this other crap that these people come up with. But I do think as a society, we do have a overall problem of okay, not everybody's going to like them, but what do you do with these people after they've done bad things or been bad people, and do you bring them back? And I think that's a little bit what James is getting at with this, which is like, I know the guy was a jerk. I know the guy was an a-hole. It was not as bad as you're saying it was, or at least he didn't experience it as bad as he says it was, which doesn't mean it wasn't bad, to be clear. But he's saying it was not it's so bad that we couldn't address it as a locker room and move forward. And B, he was a young hotshot guy who was so full of himself, and he's a different person today, and he's a different person even towards the end of his career. So why are you going to hold that over his head? I think the word I come back to is accountability. That's the thing, because what Joey Porter was saying was he did all this foul stuff and we covered for him. That's the problem, and that's the difference, and that's where I think there's a disconnect, and where it's hard for me to really say, oh yeah, you know what, we should forget about whatever thing Ben Roethlisberger did that made him this ghoul to all these different Pittsburgh Steelers teammates, because Ben Roethlisberger may have been able to just like change his habits and be a better teammate, and he seems, again, in his like towards the end of his career, and then like what he's doing now with his footballing podcast and whatever, he seemed like he's just a different dude. He talks a lot about his faith. He talks a lot about this. It seems like beautiful family that he's created for himself. He seems very much like I'm just like a normal, like stay at home like dad, which is maybe what it is. Again, we don't know these guys, so I always try to like I don't know what's going on. I can go by what's presented to me, but that's how he's presented himself. Like it was actually crazy. I remember when he retired, and like they had the thing for him on the field, or maybe it was the year after he retired. I don't know. They honored him in some way in his last year. Maybe it was the last game he played in Pittsburgh. But either way, I remember like his family came out and all his kids came out, and I was like, this is just not like we didn't really see this aspect of his life. Like this is not something that like, it's like he had his transgressions, and then like we saw he started making some changes because of the crisis that his career and life went under. But like this family unit, this family man that he then presented himself as he was ending his NFL career was like, I don't remember this guy. And he made it seem like everyone knew he was like this. And I was like, first of all, you were not always like this. And second of all, I didn't even know this part of you or this life even existed. So again, I just go back to the point of like, what do you do with people who maybe have changed? Now, I don't know if he's changed. I don't know him. So I can't say for sure if he's changed. I know he was accused of terrible things. I know he made some dumb mistakes, and there are teammates who think that he was a bad teammate. But I don't know if he's improved as a person. James Harrison saying he is, and he has, and on the outside, it seems like he has. He seems perfectly fine. But what do you do with someone who's never been held accountable for any of that? That's my question. And I think that's what Joey Porter is getting at. Is if you're going to move around the way you're moving around with this happy, retired life, as if nothing happened to you and you were just this normal person and like it's all good and it's all gravy, and then come after people who are in the arena, who by all accounts, I don't know Mike Tomlin well either, but by all accounts is also conducting himself extremely professional way, extremely respectful way, and again was your coach for a large part of your career and was instrumental also to your success. Shouldn't you also afford that same grace to those kind of folks who maybe protected you when you were at your worst and lowest moments? And I think that that's what he's trying to get at. And I think that's what maybe James Harrison, and this comes for a lot of folks when we talk about this stuff. Because, we'll see. And it's a tricky, slippery slope, especially when it comes to the commentating game and the media game and the podcasting game. Because you have folks that will want to commentate and criticize, and then becomes, well, you didn't do this or you didn't do that. And a lot of times it's like something silly like sports. Like someone was like, how does Austin Rivers think he could talk about Chris Paul or something like that? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, so then only great players can talk? Again, it kind of creates like a slippery slope that doesn't really matter or make sense. That's not the point of this. We're just talking sports, and these are still experts. But when we start talking about people's careers and the dynamics that come with that, I think I think there is something that is delicate that I understand from Joey Porter's standpoint that I don't know if James Harrison is quite understanding, which is he may be a great person now. He may be doing all the things he needed to change his life and do all the different things. But think about the folks who allowed him to have the grace to become the guy, the man he's become now, and who was responsible for that, who helped him with that. So now you're going to come out and say this man should be fired and lose his job? When you don't know how that impacts his livelihood, how that impacts his family? But then it's your job to commentate? So, again, it's a slippery slope. Now, Ben Roethlisberger, I think, owns his own podcast. So, in theory, he could choose what to say and what not to say. But, again, if you enter this arena, that is the game that these former athletes play. Like, I'll say this. I'm happy that Ben Roethlisberger said that he thought Mike Tomlin should be fired, or that Mike Tomlin should go coach somewhere else. Go coach Penn State seemed a little disrespectful, but whatever, that's his opinion. Because I want people who are commentating on sports to be honest. I'm all about, if you're going to get behind a mic or you're going to get in front of a mic or in front of a camera, do not feed me BS. Tell me how you really feel, or don't waste my time. I don't want people protecting relationships and protecting all those things. So that's where it's such a weird, interesting, unique dynamic with all of this. Because as a consumer, I have no problem with what Ben Roethlisberger did. I don't care if he was the freak. If he was Stink Meaner from from the Boondocks, he was this awful, terrible person. If he has a podcast and he still thinks that Mike Tomlin should be fired, I think he should still be allowed to say that. From a personal standpoint, should he think about is this the kind of thing I should be saying, considering what Mike Tomlin did for my career and how much of a headache I may have been to him and my teammates, and the reason why I'm able to have this podcast and not be seen as a pariah in society is because they protected me. I find all this stuff very fascinating. I love going to these crazy diatribes. Like Dex, he was like a prisoner of it yesterday. I felt kind of bad because I'm like, man, he's hearing these random EJ rants today. But that's how I get sometimes. I'm in this ranting mood apparently. But I found this interesting. I was like, it's not even about taking sides. I just think that, everything is. And actually, I thought him and Joe Hayden, shout out to Debo, and I think it's the Debo and Joe podcast. I think Joe Hayden's his partner. Because they had actually also had back and forth. Because, James Harrison was trying to understand, because Joey Porter basically said that, this is like James Harrison's perspective of things in terms of his career. And James Harrison was trying to wonder, should he take that as a disrespect to say that he's lying? When you say something is from someone's perspective, is that calling you someone a liar? I actually didn't hear Joe Porter's answer. I mean, Joe Hayden's answer, but I appreciated the conversation because it is interesting. Because I personally don't think that it is. I don't think it means that person is lying. I think that you could see things from a perspective that has truth to it, but it may not be the entire truth, or it may not be the entire story. I don't think that necessarily means the person saying that you're lying. But I find this, again, everything with the Steelers dynamic. I'm telling you, it's Degrassi. It is Degrassi. These are old heads, haven't played for the Steelers for both the James Harrison and Joey Porter for more than a decade. And Ben Roethlisberger hasn't played for the Steelers in 8 years at this point in time? 8-9 years? And Mike Tomlin's not even coaching anymore. He's not actually the coach still. He's actually retired / resigned, whatever you want to call what happened to Mike Tomlin, and these guys are still beefing over this. You never leave the Pittsburgh Steelers orbit. That's just a reality, man. We got Bob Custer in the chat. Good evening, all from snowy, stormy Reno, Nevada in High Sierra. The USA is looking good at the Winter Olympics, as is Norway. So, I didn't know it snows in Nevada. I'll put my hand up and say I'm naive to that kind of weather being a thing in Reno, at least. I know Reno is not that close to Vegas. I know that because of the Wolfpack, the college team, and understanding. That's how I know geography. I think that's a lot of kids too. I think a lot of kids, especially young boys. I know my math skills are, as my friend Rod the Race killed me for them, they completely deteriorated. But when I was a kid, I was excellent at math, and I also was very good at geography. I think a lot of that has to do with being a sports fan. Because a sports fan, in terms of knowing math, knowing how much you're down by, how much a guy's averaging over a certain amount of games, batting average, all these different numbers you compute regularly, if you are obsessed with it the way I was as a kid, I think it actually helps you a lot with school when it comes to math, and it helps you with geography. So I knew Reno is not necessarily near Las Vegas, which is further south. I didn't know it snowed in Reno, though. That's got to be... I don't know if it's fun for you or not. I think it's fun. I don't know. Some people hate the snow. Like I said, I've been talking about how it's actually a warm 44 degrees, and that sounds crazy to say a warm 44 degrees, but if you given how horrendous this New York City winter has been, a warm 44 degrees is the accurate way to describe it. Shout out to Bob. I've been behind on the whole Team USA Olympics thing. I know they advanced to the knockout stage. They're number 2 seed in the Winter Olympics. I'm talking about the hockey, because that's really. I'm actually mad. I missed curling. That and curling are the two things I only really care about. I watched a little bit of the figure skating a couple of days ago. That was pretty good. And I like snowboarding, which I think I also missed. I missed a lot of this stuff, but I'm big into the hockey, definitely, in terms of the Olympics. Doing that hockey, baby. So I know. For the hockey fans, first of all, I know our women are doing awesome. They got a gold medal game, I believe, against Canada coming up, and they're heavy favorites. So, shout out to the women of the USA doing their thing. Men play at 3:10 tomorrow. They have a quarterfinal matchup against Sweden. I would love to see. Is there a way to see a bracket? See how this thing is going right now. But it looks like they're doing well, which is good to see. Man, we got to get over this hump and beat Canada. We got to get over this hump. Like, I know it's like climbing Mount Everest, considering how freaking awesome this team is. But they've got to find a way to beat these guys at some point, right? And I hate, by the way, that it looks like, if I'm looking at this correctly, of course I clicked the wrong thing and now it's all screwed up. Yeah, so I hate that if they play Canada, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, I'll actually show you guys my screen so you can see what the hell I'm talking about. But the bracket, which is not, this is an older bracket, because right now Sweden's advanced. I don't know who won between Czechia and Denmark. But assuming that these two teams will square up, it looks like, or I don't know how, this bracket is confusing. They make it look like they're going to play each other in the next round, but I don't know if that's actually true. This might be a screwed up bracket. If you're in the chat, let me know what the bracket is in terms of, because they're the number 2 seed, so the number 2 seed shouldn't play the number 1 seed, so I don't know why they got them this close. This was a bracket that was put up yesterday before today's events. So yeah, I gotta see if I can find, let me see if I put that down, see if I can find a better bracket to show me exactly what the hell's going on with the Olympics. But this is around the time I lock in to the Winter Olympics, when you start getting to the knockout round of the tournament. Okay, this might be better. This is the actual Olympic website, so maybe they could tell me what the hell's going on. I think I got my guy Jesse in the chat saying I think they reseed after each round. How would that work? Is it like a point differential? That's the only reason that would make sense to why the other bracket looked like that. Yeah, I assume maybe that's why, right? Maybe it's point differential. So they say, okay, based on point differential, you play this, you play that. I don't like that. I hate reseeding. I want to be clear. I know some people are super for reseeding when it comes to, like, I know the NFL obviously kind of does it, like, and some people have made the case that March Madness should do it for the Final Four. I've seen reseeding be suggested for the NBA. I've seen reseeding suggested for all sports. I hate reseeding. I think you should just play the path that is in front of you. That is, like, I'm all for, like, the path being created prior to the tournament and you preparing for the teams in your tournament, in your bracket, and just moving forward. I hate reseeding. And it drives me crazy. So the fact that that's what's happening here, I think that kind of sucks, to be honest. But yeah, it looks like it is reseeding. That sucks. Why can't this be simple? Why can't this be simple? Yeah, so they reseed after this round. I'm like, so I won't know who they're playing until after the game's over. And I hope they win. First of all, they got to do that, right? Jesse Flowen say he's pro reseeding. I think you're with the majority. I think most people love reseeding. I've always hated it. I think you're only guaranteed your great path in terms of your number one. Oh my God, that sucked on me. You're like a number 1 seed. I think you're guaranteed your path. They make the bracket and it's in your favor. I don't think you should keep getting, now this would be different because this is based on actual performance. So that's a little different. I still don't like it because to me it's okay, if I got a good matchup, I can move up to a 1 seed just because I destroyed some team that was a better matchup than whatever Canada had. Like, I don't think that makes sense. But just in a vacuum, I hate the idea that it's like we're going to keep making it easier for the 1 seed and keep making it harder for the lower seeds. I don't get why that ever would make sense. Like, the tournament is already made, or the playoffs are... Excuse me, I'm dying. I got to get something in here. No, but like the bracket and the tournament's already made to be in favor for the higher seed. To me, that's like... I want to say something. I don't know if I'm getting in trouble. But, like, whatever you think of, like, if you're one of those folks who thinks that the economy is rigged for, like, the 1%, that feels like what reseeding is. It's like, no matter how high you get advanced, somehow the team that already had success prior to the playoff or to the tournament, they keep getting a deck stacked in favor for them. I don't think that that's fair. I think that the deck is set. You've already accomplished what you needed to do to have the deck set your way. If chaos happens in the bracket and it leads to you having harder matchups in the team on the other side of the bracket where there's some chaos and all of a sudden the 8 seeds playing a 12 seed or whatever, then so be it. That's just the chaos of the playoff, the chaos of the bracket. When you reseed, it's like you're trying to help the team that's the best team get the championship. I don't understand how that is a practice that we're okay with. But you're not alone, Jesse. There are a lot of folks who are pro reseeding. They want reseeding, and again, they want it in the NBA. They want it in all sports. I've seen the case for it for almost every sport, and I never get it. They always talk about it with March Madness because there are years where the Final Four matchups are very quote unquote uneven, where it's like, oh, the real title game is the national title game. So my thing is like, again, the Final Four, where it's like, you don't know. It's sports. Let them freaking play, and let's figure it out. Let them play, and then we'll know who the real champion is by the time the game's over. We don't actually know. That's why I hate when people are like, oh, the real national title game was the Elite Eight, or real national title game was the Final Four. And maybe it was. Maybe it was. But that's, again, the chaos of sports. I think reseeding gets in the way of, like, actually trying to like, sports is supposed to be unpredictable. And it's supposed to be like an aspect of like chance. I think when you like reseed, you stack the deck in favor of actually less chance. Like the magic of sports gets lessened because you're actually helping the team that are the quote unquote Goliaths. I'm not about helping Goliaths. That's my random rant. I'm on a lot of random rants today. This is the kind of day it's been. This is kind of week it's been. This is when I started 40 Days and 40 Nights, I kind of knew of all the weeks, this was going to be the one that was, I'm not going to say the toughest, because I'm someone who can talk about a lot of different things, and we talked about a lot of different things. We talked about Love is Blind a bunch earlier today. But we know this is typically the worst week in the sports calendar, maybe of the year. The post-All-Star game, and now you're 2 weeks removed from the Super Bowl. That week, go watch the shows that you watch regularly. If you watch Pat McAfee, if you watch, just watch a radio show you listen to, just see the people who are on vacation. See the people who decide, I'm going to take a break. Oh, we'll be back after February, 24th or something like that. It's President's Week, so it's already a week where your kids are off for a lot of different places. This is always the week. It's like, if you're a big pro sports guy, if you're college basketball, it's still a great week. It was an awesome game on Monday night. I didn't get to talk about it, but Iowa State came back and beat Houston. Big 12 is a gauntlet, man. Iowa State was number 6. Houston, I believe, was number 3, I want to say. Either 2 or 3. They won a close game. Some more Hilton Magic. I look at the Big 12, and you look at Arizona, you look at Iowa State, you look at Houston. I think Kansas you have to put in that mix now. Those are definitely, I think, let me see if I'm forgetting anybody. Those are, to me, definitely 4 teams capable of getting to the Final Four. BYU, I'm wishy-washy on. I don't love their guard play. I don't love their guard play. So I'm kind of like on the fence about really jumping on the BYU bandwagon as much as I love AJ DeBanza. He's a guy I say I would pick as the number 1 pick in the draft. Oh, and Tech. Tech's really good too. Those would be the 5 teams I would say are legit national championship Final Four caliber. BYU's right on that outside looking in. But you play in that conference, man, especially when you get to the top of that league. It might not be the deepest league, like Jerome Tang already got fired this week, but it is tough, man. And ESPN's lucked out, and Fox Sports, they both got a little bit of a split deal. They've gotten some barn burners, man. There was an absolute awesome game this week with Iowa State beating Houston last night in a thriller. There's been a lot of those. I talked about the Arizona-Kansas game last week, and there's gonna be more. That's like we're nearing the end of conference play, but we're gonna have more of these. And so if you're a college basketball fan, you're in good shape. I will say, stay on college basketball for a second. What the hell has happened to Syracuse basketball? Like, we all knew the end of the Jim Boeheim era was gonna lead to some transition. It was going to be tricky. But, I mean, Syracuse played Duke last night, and they suffered one of their worst losses in school history. Like, they got obliterated in a national TV big spot game, and they're 6-8 in the conference and 5-12 overall. There's been issues with Kyan Anthony where he's been in and out of the lineup. He got benched and taken out of the rotation at one point in time. I don't know if he actually got to play in this game, but they lost 101 to 64. I mean, just absolutely throttled. In a game that when Duke plays, I think, of the ACC matchups. I know Syracuse is kind of a newer ACC school, but this is a pretty premier matchup, and Syracuse typically played them well. They did not play them well in this game. Syracuse is in bad shape, man. Like that's a basketball program that you would think maybe this thing runs itself. No, it doesn't. This is a place where they've had now some coaching changes, and they tried to fix this thing. AD, I think, just recently got fired, if I'm not mistaken, or he may have left. They're having problems, man. This has been a year where another year where Syracuse, you start to wonder, like, was this just a Boeheim show, and now this is going to be what they're going to be for the rest of the time? Because this is ugly. To lose like that is bad, really bad. I'm not used to seeing that. Because even when Syracuse has been not that great in the postseason, they've been able to keep things going. Now, the athletic director, I'll be clear, yes, he announced his retirement. This was like yesterday. Oh, no, it was last week. Last week, he announced his retirement effective this summer. You go look at the Carrier Dome. I'm seeing these images from it's not called the Carrier Dome anymore, whatever they call it now. I'm seeing these images from the dome, and it looks half empty. What is going on? It shouldn't have gone this bad after Boeheim. I thought Boeheim was holding them back because he kind of got a little crotchety at the end. And while he could coach, he knew how to coach basketball games. He was great coaching through tournaments. You couldn't keep doing we're going to get in as a 12 seed and fool people with this zone and keep winning and think that was going to be sustainable. Not do that and then be kind of like a jerk, which is kind of what he started doing towards the end. But Adrian Autry's not been there for 3 years. They've only won 20 games once. They're 15-12 now. They're in danger of potentially falling below 500 again. That'd be for the second year in a row. Yeah, it's bad over there, man. They've only won 20 games once in the last 6 years. This is Syracuse basketball. This is one of the premier programs. Maybe not quite blue blood, but close. And they've won a national championship. Famously with Carmelo Anthony. 6 Final Fours. It's bad. It's real bad over there. That was an ugly loss they took last night. This scandal is interesting. So, you got Tony Clark, who's resigning as the head of the MLBPA, the union that runs the players, association for all things labor. And Tony seemed to be very well respected among the players. They seem to really like him. They seem to support him. And this news about him resigning seemed to come by surprise for a lot of the folks, though. I think that they expected something may happen because there was a federal investigation into whether or not they were misusing funds and not spending them correctly based on different organizations that they launched and different events that they launched, and where those profits were actually going. And was it going to the places it was supposed to go to help the union, or was it going in people's pockets, right? This might have been... It wasn't quite the NFL. With the NFL had the guy who was going to was he going to like strip clubs and stuff like that? And that was a whole big scandal, and the NFL guy had to resign. I don't know if it was doing all that, but there was issues in terms of misappropriate funds being used. So Clark resigning in its entirety and just in a vacuum, maybe not that big a deal, or not that surprising. It's a big deal because Major League Baseball is entering what could be the most contentious labor dispute in a generation. But we learned the details, and this is nasty. Literally nasty. So, according to Jeff Passan, the players' union hired a former a U.S. attorney to essentially do like a self scout. Like, they have this investigation with the feds are circling, and they said, what are the liabilities with this organization that we need to prepare for, and maybe need to adjust prior to any charges coming down so we can not make this as messy as it has to be. So, smartly, they hired an investigator to look into the organization. And I guess the investigator looked into it and found the head of our organization is having an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law, who he is also hired to a job that's pretty high up in the ranking. This is probably a liability. And I would agree that probably will be a liability in an investigation, and for many different reasons. One, nepotism, and which was already one of the things apparently the feds were looking into, and then just pure embarrassment. Like, this is not something you want to have going into a federal investigation, something that's going to be revealed in an indictment or anything like that. You don't want that. So ahead of this, well, now we know it, but ahead of any charges that may come down to the union, they're already moving on from Tony Clark. Tony Clark resigning because of this relationship. Yeah, this is an ugly one. Tony Clark, he is still married. He's been married to his wife for a while, it seems like. So this is definitely going to be something that is going to continue to be a problem for him, I think, moving forward. I think in regards to the MLBPA, you got to hope that they're going to be able to pick up the pieces and move on from this, because it seemed like Clark was an absolute strong advocate for them, and they're ready for the fight of their lives. They've made it very clear. A lockout, it just seems like it's coming. It seems like it's imminent. The players seem to want absolutely no part of a salary cap, and I understand that. And if you hear Manny Machado, you hear a lot of these other players that have been speaking at training camp and spring training about the Dodgers and what they've done, because the MLB has definitely tried to frame the Los Angeles Dodgers as the boogeyman of Major League Baseball and the reason why there needs to be a salary cap. The players, they've been like, the Dodgers are great. We love the Dodgers. Even Manny Machado, who hates the Dodgers, like actually hates the Dodgers, like he actually wants smoke with them. Like, they fought. They've actually thrown hands, right? He used to play for the Dodgers. He left in free agency to go to the Padres, and those teams have actually thrown hands. And there's one of the few real rivalries in sports that still exists: Dodgers Padres. And he said, "I love the Padres. I love the Dodgers. I love all that they've done. I love that they do the stuff they do with paying their guys and treating their guys right. All teams should do that." You see that? I'm like, yeah, there's going to be a lockout. These players, they're on message, and they know what they want, and they do not want to give any kind of indication that they're going to go against ranks and allow Major League Baseball to institute a salary cap and other measures that could, they believe, limit team spending on salaries. And they should. Like, based on their perspective, there's absolutely no reason for them to ever agree to a salary cap. None. It's going to limit spending for the players. And while the Dodgers have won the last 2 World Series in a row, we'll see what happens this year. The playoffs have still been too much of a crapshoot to stand and say, nope, this is an unfair advantage that isn't allowing anyone else an opportunity to win. Now I may feel that way, and I do feel that way. Like, excuse me, my mic kind of starts to dip. I want to fix this. Still screwed up. Hold on, give me 1 second. Let's see. Let's try this one more time. Yeah, I told you guys, I can't stand the Dodgers. I hate how this has been. I hate how this has gone. I hate that they've been allowed to do this. And I think that it is overall bad for baseball and bad for the sport. That you just can't have the best players all going to the same team. It's ridiculous. I think the owners are to blame for it. I do agree with that. But I do think it's bad. I think simply just saying, hey, you can't do these massive, we're going to defer all your money, like, that has to end. There's no other sport that does that. You can't do that in the NBA and the NFL. Say, I'm going to defer your money till long after you retired, and I might not even be owning the team. Give me a break. It's ridiculous. So, no, I don't think that seems to be an unfair business practice, that because of the money that they have and because of the structure of their ownership group, they're able to feel more comfortable about it because they have a bunch of millionaires that run their team, and therefore they're splitting the difference on everything. It's not a team owned by one particular family or one particular guy or gal. So I think that I do think it's unfair. I don't think that means a salary cap has to be put in. That's not at all what I'm asking for. But I am asking for saying, hey, you can't have guys just being able to just say, hey, because the Dodgers would not have a lot of these guys if they weren't having to pay Shohei Ohtani $1 million a year. That's what they're paying them. $1 million a year for Shohei Ohtani. Arguably the greatest player that's ever played the sport. It's nonsense. So they should fight for, they should in theory, and to the player, they should fight against the salary cap. Even if you want to say the Dodgers, which I will always say that they're getting away with murder when it comes to the deferring money, the salary cap thing is just a way to placate the broke boys that are running Major League Baseball that don't want to spend any money. The guys that are saying, I'm in this to make a profit, when that really isn't how this works. Not for Major League Baseball. You want to make a profit, get enough money to buy an NFL team. They make tons of profits. That's just not where baseball is. The revenue sharing is not the same. Nothing is the same. You can't make it the NFL. You can't do it by force. Which is what they're trying to do, but you can't do it. It's ridiculous. So, I'm curious how this impacts this. In terms of if the next guy that comes up, is he going to be as forceful and is he going to be as good, a strong advocate as Tony Clark has been? Because Major League Baseball, they've always had no shot against the players' union. I remember Donald Fear back in the day used to just run rings around these guys. Like they had to scratch and claw just to get steroid testing in. Like, think about that. They did not test for steroids, and for years, Donald Fear would never going to allow you guys to test these guys for steroids, and they were just like, okay. Like, it took basically federal investigations and congressional hearings for steroid testing to even be implemented. And then for them it was like, well, HGH, well, we're not doing blood, can't test blood. It's like, what? Think about that. So the players union, unlike the other sports, historically, the Major League Baseball Players Union has just run rings around their owners. They always run rings around their owners, which is why the sport is so it's so screwed up with teams, the haves and the have-nots. Teams can spend $2 million a year on the best player as long as they want to pay him $700 million 15 years from now. Like, that's why the sport is the wild, wild west when it comes to so many of these other things, because players have set up a situation where they're always going to be able to get paid at a top dollar. So they should fight tooth and nail. They better hope the next guy is ready for the fight, because a fight is coming. But for Tony Clark, man, that is crazy. Inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law. Again, reading this article, Clark had been executive director since 2013, and it, again, comes at a turbulent time with the players coming with the CBA, and the Eastern District of New York has an ongoing investigation into allegations that Clark and the MLBPA misused funds from a licensing agreement. Yeah, this is bad. We have no other details on the sister-in-law aspect of it, but the fact that the sister-in-law again was also working for the company, or for the league rather, or for the union, is also a terrible look too. Just a overall bad look. Definitely not a good day in the Clark household, I can say that much. Let's get these few stories in here before we get out of here, man. I want to talk about Anthony Richardson. So it's reported today that it is expected that Anthony Richardson will request a trade this upcoming season. Now, Anthony Richardson, he came into this season in a quarterback battle with Daniel Jones. He lost that battle. I watched one of the preseason games against the Ravens. I think the first drive, he threw a pick six, just right to a guy. It was just, it was a pick six, or did he miss a blitz? I forgot what it was. He had a terrible turnover immediately. I was like, get this guy off the field. He's not ready to start or play right now. And despite Daniel Jones coming back from an Achilles, it's expected that Daniel Jones will be back and they'll move forward with him as their starter as he recovers from his Achilles tear, and that Anthony Richardson will have to be the backup in that scenario. Richardson wants no part of that and is expected he will request a trade from the Colts. I think that's a bad idea. I really do. Because I'm thinking about the team that is still there in Indianapolis, which we saw when Daniel Jones was healthy, has some talent. You got a good running back. Receivers are starting to come into their own. Michael Pittman, Alec, what's the name? I can't remember his last name now. It's driving me crazy. Josh Downs. Like, they got some guys over there. A good offensive line. And the guy that took your spot is coming off an Achilles tear. So if I'm Alec Pierce, thank you. I don't know why that last name was escaping me. Alec Pierce is one of the best deep threats in the NFL. Like, the guy that is QB1 is coming off an Achilles tear and is always hurt. The likelihood that they'll need you is very high. They needed you this year. You would have played if you didn't, hit your eye with the exercise band prior to a game. That freak accident that happened that didn't allow him to play, which is why they needed Phillip Rivers. Otherwise, Anthony Richardson would have finished the season. Who knows how the season would have went? And knowing the Daniel Jones experience, he's going to get hurt again. That's just how his career has gone. So if I'm Anthony Richardson, I'm saying I could go to another team in a place where there are not a lot of quarterback jobs out there. There are a lot of quarterback jobs and not a lot of draft picks. So I can go somewhere and probably play, or at least have an opportunity to win a job. But where am I going that is going to be good for my career moving forward if I'm doing that? Because I don't know if playing for the Dolphins is a good thing for him. I can tell him playing. I don't want anything to do with him as a Jet. Nothing. I wanted Justin Fields. I was dead wrong about Justin Fields. I will take that L, put it right on my forehead. I'm not doing that experience again. Get me an athletic guy who we don't know if he can throw, and hope for the best. I'm not doing that. I cannot watch. The Aaron Rodgers experience was frustrating, but at least he could drop back and make some throws every now and then. And maybe I took that for granted. I can't do the Justin Fields drop back and just hold the ball and not know where to go with the ball. And I saw Zach Wilson also have essentially no ability in the drop back pass game. I can't do this another year. Give me a guy who can drop back and deliver the football. Maybe he'll throw a couple picks. Maybe he'll be not the greatest, but I'd rather that than deal with what Justin Fields was doing. Where every now and then you have a great run, he's a great athlete, and he make a spectacular play, but for most of the game, you see a guy who just did not want to throw the ball, and when he threw it, you didn't know where it was going. I can't do that again. So, but let's say even the Jets were interested. I don't think you want to play for the Dolphins and Jets. I don't think you want to play for the Browns. I don't think you want to play for the AFC teams. That's it. There's nowhere else you're playing. In the NFC, you're not playing for any team in the East. You're not playing for any team in the North, probably. I don't think that Though, what's interesting, I kind of paused. Remember that random NFL films when you had Kevin O'Connell after one of the games earlier this year, I think. Where, now you never know. I think some of this is lip service, but Kevin O'Connell went up to him after the game and said, hey, man, you're going to be a good player in this league. Like, I still believe in you, and I think you have a lot of talent. Just keep your head up and keep working. You'll be all right. And a lot of people thought, I think at the time people thought, hey, maybe, like, we should stop getting on Anthony Richardson. Maybe he will be good. This may have been actually last season, now that I think about it, because did he get benched last year, or he got hurt last year, whatever happened to him? Either way, whenever it was, people respect Kevin O'Connell and what he thinks of quarterbacks. A little weird since they drafted J.J. McCarthy, but I kind of wonder if that evaluation is going to hurt him moving forward. But as of now, they still respect him because he's a good play caller. People start to say, well, maybe we got it wrong about Anthony Richardson. Maybe it's the Colts' fault. Which, by the way, I think they have a lot to blame for his failed development as well. But it made you wonder, maybe there's something there that we're not seeing with him coming out and saying, hey, I believe in you. I think you're still really good. Like, just keep it going. Do the Vikings make this the veteran that challenges J.J. McCarthy in camp next year? Because we know there's going to be one. And we know, unless that was just lip service, that he does think that Anthony Richardson can play a little bit. I kind of like it. I don't know if I like it, but I could see it. And I think that would be an interesting comp. Now, if I was Justin Jefferson, I'd be like, yo, what are you guys doing to me, man? You got one guy who never throws the ball, that didn't throw the ball in college. And now you're giving me Anthony Richardson, who played, 12 games in college, and his throwing and his mechanics and his ability to actually play the quarterback position are in question. Can't you just give me again, like I was saying with the Jets, a guy who can drop back and just deliver the football? But Kevin O'Connell, he has more physical traits than J.J. McCarthy. That's for damn sure. So I would actually be curious. Maybe Minnesota. And if I can get out of Indianapolis and get to Minnesota, I would, to be clear. But that is still TBD if they actually would want him. Is he going to Atlanta? I don't know about that. And Arizona is the other place where maybe he would start. I don't want to play for any of those teams except for Minnesota. None of those other teams. So if I was Anthony Richardson, I would say, can I get myself to Minnesota? If I can't, I'm just going to chill here in Indianapolis for a year. Chill. Daniel Jones will probably get hurt. Or maybe he won't be ready for the season. You don't know. You're not wishing this. It's just what he's dealing with. He's dealing with coming from a torn Achilles. If you have to step into that lineup, unless they tell you, hey, we're going to get a veteran in here you're going to be QB3. That's another story. But if that's not what they're saying, sit behind Daniel Jones and wait for him to get hurt, and then you have a golden opportunity to get paid. Think about what Malik Willis has done in playing limited games with the Packers. Malik Willis may get paid in a major way this offseason because of just a handful of games he's played for the last 2 years starting for the Green Bay Packers. But he's playing for the Packers. So he's got an experienced play caller calling the plays. He's got athletes and stars all around the offense. So all he has to do is just play his game and not screw it up, and he can look great. This is not like when he was playing in Tennessee with nobody. Anthony Richardson, I think he should see the forest through the trees and be like, it's embarrassing to be the number 3 pick in the draft and be backing up at Daniel Jones, but it's not about that. What can I do in this year where this guy might not be ready, or he may be gimpy, or he may not be the same, and I definitely could have an opportunity. I almost had an opportunity this year to play, and a freak accident didn't allow me to play. Now, there may be a mental thing. Maybe it's a mental hurdle with this where he just feels that he's got to have a new scene, new environment, and that's fair. And I understand that if that's the case. But I think if he was smart, I think he would reconsider a trade request. I don't think I would leave Indy. These other situations are terrible. If he goes to Miami, I think his career is going to be over. I think there's a much better chance that he's out of the league if he goes somewhere and tries to win a job somewhere, one of these terrible teams, than if he stays with the Colts. I think he actually may look decent if he plays with the Colts. He will not look decent playing with the Jets or the Dolphins or the Cardinals. He will look awful playing for those teams. Cardinals may be the team I give him maybe the most chance of those terrible teams. I mean, again, excluding the Vikings. Of the worst, of the really bad teams. And Atlanta, again, like, I would give, like, Arizona would be the team that I'd probably get. Because at least you got Marvin Harrison and you got Trey McBride. At least he's got 2 receivers there. But then you're going up against this division. You're going up against the Seahawks, Rams, and 49ers. The other teams in your division won 14 games, 12 games, and 12 games. Stay in the South. Stay in Indianapolis. And I think you have an opportunity to maybe turn your career around. I think that he would be foolish to want to get traded. That's my opinion. Last thing, man. We got to help out Tiger Woods. I know you guys are with me. I know he's a draw. I know he's magnetic. And I know what he used to bring to the TV screen when he used to be at his peak of his powers. He was one of the most must-watch athletes in all of sports for a lot of people. I got nothing but love for Tiger Woods and what he did for golf and his athletic prowess. We cannot let him go back out there and try to play professional golf again. He is super washed. And it's because of injuries. It's not anything I know he did have some things that he did to himself, crashes and stuff. But outside of that, like, it's not. Father Time's undefeated, and he's someone that has pushed his body to the absolute limits. And sometimes your body tells you you can't do this anymore. I think for the sake of Tiger, I think for the sake of the viewing audience, I don't want to see a super diminished shell of himself version of Tiger Woods out there limping on the golf course, failing to finish tournaments and make cuts. I don't know why people find that interesting or fun, because there are people who keep saying they want to hold out hope that Tiger Woods can go out there and make a return, because golf is one of those sports where you can play for many, many years deep in your career. For who? For what? If you want to play on the senior tour and show up at an exhibition every now and then, that's fine. That's different. Totally different. That would be great. I have no problem seeing Tiger Woods in that situation. Hopefully he can get through healthy and he can get in and get out. He's talking about returning to the Masters. First of all, shout out to the when Mike Tyson, when he was trying to make before this fake comeback that happened, where he fought, and he's gonna fight Floyd Mayweather. This is prior to him fighting Jake Paul. I think this might have been a couple of years prior to when he fought Roy Jones. So the first scam when it came to those fights that were happening with Mike Tyson. But I remember he said something along the lines of like the warrior had been awoken again, when he saw these very terrifying clips of Mike Tyson training, even at like age 54, looking like he could knock you or me out in 0.3 seconds. Like, they were terrifying. Watching how hard he was hitting these pads, how fast he was moving. You're like, oh my gosh. I think the caption was, the warrior in me has been awoken again. The fact that he's even talking like this shows you this guy. That's why he's one of the best competitors to ever step on any athletic field or any athletic arena in the history of American sports. Because listen to this, man. He was asked, because they asked him about his health, and he said, Achilles is fine. Achilles is no longer an issue, which is great. He tore his Achilles in March. He said, and now it's February, which is 11 months. So he says he's taking normal swings, like that aspect. Nothing with his lower leg, he says, in terms of his Achilles, is a part of the problem at this point in time, which is just for his health, great news. He says more of the problem is the back surgery this guy had. He had lumbar surgery to remove a lumbar disc. And he says that he's just really sore, and dealing with the soreness is a problem. Again, this guy has dealt with all these different surgeries, all these different ailments, and now you're talking about a guy who's coming back from back surgery, combined with all the other stuff he's had, broken leg, everything he's dealt with. Again, torn Achilles. He's had back issues previous to the surgery. Now he's dealing with the recovery from back surgery. I want you to hear this soundbite. This is, again, the warrior being awoken. Because you're like, all right, you're talking about like May 1 to play. Like, how soon are we talking about? Are we talking about a couple months at the Masters?
Final thing with you in regards to your recovery. Is the Masters off the table for you?
No.
That's it. No. You just see his face. Just no. Straight. And it's like, oh, this guy, he's, I mean this with all due respect, he's crazy. Like, he's a crazy, like, he really thinks he can go out there and compete in the Masters after everything he's been through. Again, that speaks to he's a special competitor. There's no question about that. Maybe there's no one ever that's been like him, which is why, as a sports audience, we need to make this decision for him, or at least inform his decision in some way. I think as long as people keep supporting the idea of him trying to come back and going out there and playing, all you're doing is just putting him at more danger to injure himself even more, and to, dare I say, embarrass himself. Like, I don't want to say what's happened with him in these events that have been embarrassing, but it's not flattering to watch Tiger have to pull out of a tournament through 30 holes or 26 holes because his leg is just too sore, or his back's just too bothered him too much, or he's 11 plus, 12 plus, 13 over, and he's so out of it, and you're watching him just in the bunker all day. Like that, I don't want to see athletes like that. Like, that is always the big thing me and my friend Andrew Perloff used to always argue about. Like, I think he's very much just ride it till the wheels fall off, and I want to see great athletes just go out on their own terms, regardless of what that looks like. I am the opposite. As someone who watched Brett Favre get knocked out on a literally frozen field in Minnesota, in his last game, not his actual last game of the season, he got knocked out, and that was the end of his season, for a guy who actually never missed a game. Never missed a game. He got knocked out. That was how his career ended, and I remember that. Like, I remember seeing these other guys, I love hearing, I didn't see this, but I love hearing my friend Rob Parker tell the story of seeing, and I can't do a Rob Parker voice, but I'll try. I remember seeing Willie Mays stumbling around in right field for the Mets at Shea Stadium. It was terrible. Like, I don't want to see that version. I don't want to see Willie Mays stumbling around in right field for the Mets, as much as that we love Willie Mays as Mets fans, because we love that he played for us. That's why his number's retired. But I don't want to see that version of Tiger Woods. If I want to see Tiger Woods play golf, I will go to YouTube. Well, now I can go to X. I can find some clips of Tiger Woods at his absolute best. I don't get joy out of seeing formerly great athletes going out and like stinking up the joint. I don't get joy out of that. I don't know what is wrong with some of you sick people that want to see these guys who are putting their bodies on the line in a dangerous way want to go out there and perform and do things that they're clearly not capable of anymore. And Tiger, he doesn't have it anymore. I'm sorry, he doesn't. Like, I know we've seen Tom Watson older in his career go on these magical runs in like the Open Championship, and we've seen other older guys when it seems like they should be cooked and done find a way to compete in these tournaments. Those guys don't have the physical wear and tear that Tiger Woods has. They don't have multiple back surgery, knee surgery, broken leg, torn Achilles. They don't have all that. If Tiger didn't have any of that, he wanted to keep playing, even if he was a diminished version, I'd say fine. At least I know he can finish the tournament in one piece. He's not going to have to be carted away from the golf course, which has happened multiple times. Like, at least I know he can go through the process of a tournament, win, lose, or draw, and literally walk out of the golf course with his head up. I cannot guarantee that if he steps on the golf course again. In fact, it's been more likely the opposite is going to happen. That he's going to have to be pulled out, that he's going to have to go to the hospital, or he's going to have to be healthed off because he's just been through a lot. And golf may not be the most physically taxing sport, but it's taxing enough for him, and it's taxing given how he plays and the kind of athlete that he is, that it's just, at this point, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So, he's going to hate this. Like, and he can think I'm a jerk, and you can think I'm a jerk. That's fine. I'm not a jerk, I promise. But I hear this, I'm like, come on, Tiger. The next time he talks about an event, I hope he's saying this is going to be my retirement last, like, PGA event. I hope that's what we hear. I don't want to hear competing and going to get back after it. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? All right, man. That's a good place to leave it. A lot of ranting today. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. We got my guy talking about Jesse. I mentioned earlier about the Shohei Ohtani deal. Yeah, sorry, not $1 million, $2 million. My bad. $2 million a year for 10 years. And then you get to pay $680 million 15 years later. I mean, come on, man. That should not be allowed. I'm fine. I hate the Dodgers, but I'm fine with them spending money. You got it, spend it. Because I agree these broke boy owners need to be embarrassed. I will always stand on that they're more of the problem than the Dodgers are. The Pirates, the Rays, who are some broke boy owners? Let's get to the Rockies. Let's get to the White Sox. If you have a broke boy owner you want to get after, that guy Fisher from the Athletics, let's get him. I'll call all these broke boy owners out. I don't care. I have no problem with that. Who else we want to get at? Well, those are the main ones. Those are the main culprits. We can hold there. Those are 100% the main culprits. Those broke boy owners, I got no time for them. So I get that. You should not have this where a team that has all these riches can game the system by essentially not having to pay their best player. It's to me it's not good team building, because I'm all about competition both on the court, on the field, and in the offices, in the front office and the ownership level. I love every aspect of competition when it comes to professional sports, including team building. I don't think it's actually creative team building to be like, we're able to get all these good guys because we're not paying money to our best player. That's not, that is gaming the system. That's not actually clever team building, or shows that you're any more skilled at putting together a great team than anybody else. That's why I hate it. It's nothing to do with just the principle of the Dodgers having more money. I don't care about that, because these other owners have the money, they just don't want to spend it. I care about the Dodgers are running around like they're Pac. Oh, we built this great team with this great organization. I'm like, well, if the Yankees decide no or not, like I know you can say, well, they can, but they can't. That's the thing, is that they can't. I'm sorry, people saying that, oh no, they can do it. No, they can't. Those other teams aren't being run by a collection of billionaires. And those other teams don't have the means to be able to guarantee that they can pay some guy $700 million 15 years from now. They don't have the means for that. That it is different. That is where I don't agree with this. So I hate that aspect of it, man. I really do, as you can tell. But yeah, get the broke boy owners out of here, man. Screw a salary cap. That's not the issue with this. The issue is the freaking deferred money. But they want a salary cap because they know they can limit spending, and they can not spend money and have a better chance at competing as long as we can keep the Dodgers spending all the money. That part, and the Mets and the Phillies and the Yankees and all the other teams that spend money. That corny. I don't want any part of that. Getting rid of deferred money, super supportive. I remember this. Jesse also reminding us that Shep thought he could fight Mike Tyson and beat him. Yeah, that's my guy. We had Shep on yesterday morning. I should have asked him about that. I didn't. Well, you know what? I wish I had Shep on today. Because then I could have asked him about it. I could have said, hey, Mike Tyson's going to fight. Do you still think you could beat him? I think of all the Shep-isms around Infinity Sports Network that people kind of look and shake their head at, I think that was the one where I think most of us were just like, what are you talking about? You could not beat Mike Tyson in a fight. Shep, if I'm 34, Shep is, I think he's around 40, if I'm not mistaken. So Shep is in good shape. He runs marathons and stuff. But he's also not a spring chicken. Like, he's also not in his most, like, physical peak, right? Shep also is, I can say confidently, Mike Tyson's a heavyweight. Like, Mike Tyson's probably 220 or whatever. Shep is not. Let me just put it that way. He's a lot smaller than Mike Tyson is. So there's a weight class difference. There's a lot of different reasons why a Shep fight. And then also, I don't know, unless he knows something that I don't know. I've never seen, like, I never heard Shep actually explain, like, whether or not he knows how to box. There's also that aspect of it. Because I don't think, he actually knows the actual sweet science. Like, does he actually know what he's doing? So, yeah, Shep was one of the few people who saw that clip. That's why I hated that Jake Paul fight, because it just gave Shep probably just more ammunition to be like, yeah, see, look how he did against Jake Paul. I'm like, that was probably a fixed fight. And that was him fighting against another guy who, while may not be a like traditionally trained boxer, has been boxing now for 6-7 years fairly seriously. You do not. Even if you train a little bit, you don't train as much as Jake Paul. Jake Paul fights in actual fights. Actual fights, I use a quotation mark, but you know what I mean. Like, Shep hasn't. So he thinks he can fight Mike Tyson. I always think we all believe we could do something that is probably something that's impossible or ridiculous. That one is definitely up there. Because Mike Tyson knows how to box. That's the thing about fighting, is if you know how to fight, you'll always know how to fight. Now, your competency level is one thing, but you'll always know what you're doing. Shep won't know what he's doing, which would be the problem. That would not make him dangerous in a fight with Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson would be 70 years old. I would take Mike Tyson in a fight. And I love Shep. And you guys know I love Shep because I had him on the show. And we talked about how much I got love for my guy. But that was definitely out there for one of the Shep takes, man. All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to end the show here, man. That was fun. Thank you guys for checking out this edition of 48 49. Of course, like always, multiple ways to get after the show. Of course, we're streaming live on YouTube, New Generation Media. Make sure you follow us on YouTube or subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. And if you can, give a like to this video, man. Liking the video, super big thing for us. Helps the videos grow, helps get more viewers, helps engage and all that stuff. So liking the video, giving a comment in the comment section, all those things are super important. Let me give a shout out to Jesse, who was great in the chat today. Shout out to Jesse. Thank you. Peace and love as always. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. Make sure you follow me on X, EJ_Stewart, where we're also streaming live. Shout out to folks on X. And make sure you follow me on Instagram. Action EJ is where you'll find me on Instagram. Also on TikTok as well. Action EJ as well. Streaming live on Instagram Live. So on Instagram Live, like Jesse, shout out to you guys that watch me on Instagram Live. I always can see people jumping in and out of the live, which is always super cool. So that's always a fun aspect of this, and I do appreciate you guys. I seen Rob joined in. I seen Mass 1505 jumped in. My guy Ray jumped in. Shout out to Ray. Big Ed jumped in. My guy Eric from Ron Conklin jumped in. A lot of folks jumped in at this point, which is always cool. I love the people dipping in to see what's going on here on 40 Days and 40 Nights. Much love to y'all. I appreciate y'all. So make sure you follow me on Instagram, Action EJ. And every episode gets podcasted on our podcast channel. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. New Generation Podcast Network, where you'll find all episodes of 40 Days and 40 Nights. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave a 5-star review if you can. We greatly, greatly would appreciate it. And that'll do it for night 27 of 40 days and 40 nights. I gave the music confidently because I don't have any guests that I know of right now that are coming on. But hopefully, I'll come up with somebody for tomorrow or one of these days coming up soon. But I thank y'all. I really appreciate this one. This was a fun day today. Again, coming down to the wire. We're going coming down the hump day of week 6. Then there's just week 7 and week 8 afterwards. So thank you guys again for joining this one. I'm EJ Stewart. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good evening.